What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Today is literally like the Super Bowl for politics. I think we all are aware that tonight there will be a debate between Kamala Harris and former President Trump for who becomes this nation's commander in chief as of January this time next year. This time next year, a lot of this will be water under the bridge, but we are going to be entertained tonight. Remember the old Gladiator, Russell Crowe, are you not entertained? That is likely what we're going to be dealing with tonight. President Trump, former President Trump, he is entertaining. He knows what to do in front of the camera. So it should be an entertaining debate. But we're going to talk about it going in. We may have a live afterwards as well. But I want to run it by you folks. What are you expecting to hear? What questions would you like to have answered? Whether it's Kamala Harris or former President Trump, what do you want to hear them discuss? Now, we know the major issues, the economy, the border, women's right to choose, but do you feel like one of them has maybe their stance on a particular topic is still fairly unknown? I do believe the poll showed that I think they said only 28% of Americans feel like they don't know who Kamala Harris is. I don't know if that matches, but I want to hear it from you folks. Now, our first topic is going to be the debate. We're going to talk a hell of a lot about the debate, but I have a secondary topic that is probably going to cause some serious division among viewers. NFL player Tyreek Hill. I think by now most of you folks have seen the interaction between Tyreek Hill and the police. Now, my stance on this is a bit different than what you're hearing from folks, particularly in the African American community, and those who are really going in hard on the police. But there are some folks who are going in on Tyreek Hill as well. My opinion on this is, simply put, it was a clash of egos. I see in the comments, Fighting the Evil says the cops should be fired. My take is this. At the end of the day, non-compliance has consequences. Regardless of, okay, let's suggest that the cops, they overstepped their boundaries. Some might say they were too aggressive. Some might say that they roughed up Tyreek Hill, putting him on the ground. Fact is, lack of compliance has consequences. Maybe the consequences are overstated. Maybe the consequences are something you did not deserve. However, without the lack of compliance, oftentimes you don't have to deal with the consequences at all. Now, that's not to excuse bad policing or anything of that nature. Sometimes you can have a situation where neither party is in the right, where you may have a situation where both sides are bad guys. I'll tell you this, in regards to Tyreek Hill, my humble opinion is exactly what I just stated. Had he complied with law enforcement, he wouldn't be dealing with all of that. As I said, that's not to defend what the officers did to him. Certainly when he was handcuffed, tackling them and things like that. But he was non-compliant. He absolutely was non-compliant. He didn't want to raise his window down. He was talking shit to the cops, saying they were knocking on the window too hard when they were trying to get him to let the window down. If you're African American, particularly, if you're a person of color in particular, folks have already said, well, my parents had to talk with me and they told me how to interact with police to be safe. Do you think Tyreek Hill followed the advice of any talk that he may have received from his parents? Is there any person of color that is told to behave in a manner Tyreek Hill did when encountering police? If you're receiving the talk, it's because they're telling you acting like Tyreek Hill could work against you. So while not defending the police in their behavior, what Tyreek Hill did led to the outcome that Tyreek Hill had to deal with. And we're going to talk about that as well. But I just want to say right off the bat, non-compliance has its consequences. You get pulled over, you got to let down the damn window. Particularly if they're asking you to do that. If they're asking you to let the window down, let the damn window down. What is so bad about that? Fighting that, okay, you're pissing off cops who may already themselves have ego issues, which is why I stated a clash of egos. Both sides went above and beyond how the interaction should have happened. Now, once Tyreek Hill started acting a fool, that doesn't mean the cops have to respond the way they did either. Both sides took that to a level it did not have to go to. Tyreek Hill could have complied, and when he was acting the way he was acting, the police could have tried to de-escalate the situation. Both parties, in this case, in my opinion, there is no good guy in that situation. I don't see Tyreek Hill or any citizen acting like him as a good guy, and I do believe the police took it further than they needed to. No good guys in that situation, but you guys will let me know where I'm wrong as always. So those are our two topics, the debate, Tyreek Hill. Looking in the comments, Slim Jim. Isn't that Macho Man Randy Savage? States, you could be a black leader, Tim. All right, fair enough. I appreciate that. Hand your license and registration and say I don't answer questions with the camera on. Let the cops screw themselves, says Derek Lysovit. Well, here's the problem. A lot of folks need to realize you have rights that may or may not be given to you during a traffic stop on the side of the road. Just because you have a constitutional right to do something does not mean the police are going to observe that right on the side of the road. Such as, I don't want to talk to you, as you just stated. I don't want you to search my car without a warrant. You have a constitutional right to the First and Fourth Amendment. But that doesn't mean the cops are going to give you that on the side of the road. This is what I'm talking about. Compliance can mean you going home as opposed to going to jail or even to the grave. You have to focus on which one is more important to me when I get pulled over. Particularly, some would argue as a person of color. You need to judge those two things. Which one is more important to me? Observing my rights and making sure I have constitutional rights as a citizen, or going home to my family. You may be in a situation where you can't get both. You might be dealing with an officer that's not going to give you both. I can either let you have your constitutional rights, or I can let you go home to your family. Sometimes you may not be entitled to both. Talking shit to a cop is often a constitutionally protected First Amendment right. Cussing while you're talking to cops. You heard a cop say, I'm not slick, or my name ain't bro. Talking to the citizen can call you that. There's no law against a citizen suggesting that they have to call you officer or show you respect. There is no law requiring citizens to respect the police. But there are police that will treat you a certain type of way if they feel you're disrespecting them. So understand, it's a difference between what rights you have and what they will give you beside the side. And a lot of folks go to their damn demise, lose their lives because they expect the police to observe their constitutional rights. It's not like that. It's not always like that. I'll go to the box, but my advice is this. Certainly when they're aiming tasers and guns and weapons at you, you have to treat the police the same way you would treat a bank robber if you were sitting in a bank, or if you're in a liquor store and somebody comes in there and announces a robbery. If someone is aiming a gun at you and yelling instructions, I don't give a damn what they're asking you to do. If you do not take their advice and comply with them, your chances of getting shot increase. A lot of folks believe, well, because he's a cop and I have rights, he's not going to do that. That's not always the case. Treat him the same way you would treat anyone else that is aiming a weapon at you and yelling instructions at you. So going to the box, appreciate you folks that are already here. We'll start it right out with the one and only Dencal. Okay, I don't know what I just did, but I got to undo something. Let's see if the box brings him up. Okay, Dencal, I got to figure out what's going on, but go ahead. I just got I lost my old phone, got another one back, and it's bringing him up in this crazy format. But I'm assuming on the Tyreek Hill case, did you see what happened?
Yes.
What's your opinion?
I totally disagree with your assessment
Okay.
that there needs to be, we as citizens need to be given a standard to uphold, while the people who have been given a job, sworn an oath, and it's their duty to uphold, we have the same level. Now I agree with you that yes, if you show a certain amount of attitude towards a cop, he could reciprocate that to you. But he has been taught to de-escalate situations. We are just citizens living our life. He was a he was a very rich and famous person on his way to go perform his duties as a football player. Yes, he may have broken the law in speeding or reckless or whatever it was he was pulled over for. The cop asked him for it. He gave him his license and registration. He said, "Give me the ticket," and he rolled his window up.
Well, I'll get you say there needs to be a standard. How about comply? How about that for a standard? I mean,
He did. He did. Give him your license and registration is compliance.
what
Now
about
all the
what
rest of
about
it,
the wait? What about the commands about rolling the window down? Why is he rolling the window back up?
because he's in Miami and he's sitting in a car and he got the air conditioner on, just like anybody else would. He give him his information. He doesn't have to have a conversation and stay there and talk to the guy. He gave him his information and he rolled his window back up.
So, and when they want to talk to you again, they have to keep knocking on your window or something.
Yes, if he sees them come back with his information and the ticket, yes, then we can resume the conversation.
So then, if you know. So then, if you know your activity is going to require them to knock on the window, then why the hell were you complaining about them knocking on the window?
Here we go into one person whose duty it is to de-escalate situations, as opposed to a person's right to be able to close their window once they give over their information. When have you ever given? Well, I don't know how many times you've been pulled over.
Enough, plenty.
Yeah, when you give them your information, you don't sit there and have a chat with the other cops while they run you your stuff.
Because if they're sitting right next to your vehicle and you know this is a traffic stop and you're interacting with the cops, you can't rail the window up on them. I mean, they're sitting right there.
He was done. He had handed them his information. What other interaction is there to have?
They asked you to roll your window down. Why would they tell you to do that if it's okay to roll it back up?
I'm not sure what you expect from a person who gets pulled over. It's clear that it's a traffic violation. They ask for your information. You give it to them. Mm-hmm. And then what else do you think the conversation should have been after that?
Well, I get your point about remain silent. Don't say anything you don't necessarily need to. But what I'm simply saying is when you start doing things like that, the cops can take it as a level of disrespect. Now, as I told you before, there's a difference between what legal rights you have and what rights the cops are going to give you on the side of the road. So the argument I'm asking you is this: which one are you defending, your rights, or are you trying to go home?
They don't. Well, okay. I guess in reality, they can decide. They can decide whether they respect my rights or not.
Right.
And I can't believe we're having a conversation to say that in order for them to respect my rights, that I have to treat them a certain kind of way.
Did your parents did your parents ever give you the talk as a kid?
Yes. But they also told me to defend my rights when I'm in the right. They didn't say whenever they come at you disrespectfully that you're supposed to capitulate to everything they say. They never told me that.
Why would your parents tell you if you had the ability to defend your rights? There wouldn't be a need to have a talk with you to begin with. The reason you're getting the talk is because they don't always adhere to your rights. There's no law requiring you to keep your hands at 10 and 2 or do. They're telling you to do this stuff because they're letting you know they may not adhere to your rights. So when you get pulled over and you're trying to do what you're talking about doing, your own parents would have told you you might get your ass kicked or you may get taken to jail or killed doing that. That's the purpose of the talk, is that they know the cops may not do that.
Okay, so now from your understanding, is it only black people that should be doing this?
No. It is not only black people that should be doing it, but fact is the majority of the folks that have negative interactions with police officers is people of color, particularly black people.
Right, and I think that the more we just wash away everything and say if you just don't you just even if they disregard your rights, we just comply. If the man asks me for my ID and registration and I give it to him, that's the end until he bring me my ticket back.
Well, you sound like you're countering me with a give me liberty or give me death argument. You can fight for liberty and lose your life or go to jail. Now that can happen. Now hold on. In the comments, Gabriel Reed is stating that Dencal needs to watch Chris Rock's How Not to Get Your Ass Kicked by Police. Have you seen that? Because it sounds like you might need to watch that.
Listen, I seen what happened, and if your understanding is that the only reason why that basically we saying that he deserved what he would.
No, I didn't say that. And people need, and I see people in the comments where you're defending cops. There is a different argument about defending your rights as opposed to trying to get home to your family. Like I said, in some cases you can't do both. Are we trying to defend Tyreek Hill rights? Or are we talking about what is necessary to get him home safely? Which one are we picking? You don't get them both always.
Well, whether he would have not went home safely is a debatable situation when you got 50 cops standing there and you got the whole traffic, everybody stopped and they're crowding around. Now, him being snatched, do you think it was right for them to snatch him out the car and throw him on the ground?
No, and that's what I stated in the beginning.
Okay, well then he was in the right.
No, he was not. No.
That's why that cop is on leave, and he can sue those cops, and he will win if he sues those cops. Them guys getting put in handcuffs and all that stuff over what?
Well, Denkel, a lot of that's because he's Tyreek Hill. If it was you or I, that shit would be over with. It was because he's Denkel. Because he's Tyreek Hill, yeah, he may win. He can hire the right lawyers and think maybe. But a regular citizen acting like he did, first of all, they're claiming he was driving 124 or whatever down the highway. I don't know if that's the case, but if I'm pulled over for doing 125, I probably would rather they treat me like him than actually take me to jail for reckless driving.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his actual crime was, but if that were the case, when they first went up to the car and they asked for his information, they should have informed him he was reckless driving. Therefore, that would have been all the authority they needed to pull him out the car or tell him to get out the car.
Wait. If they're claiming he was doing 125 miles per hour in a 40, 50 mile per hour limit, at the very least, he was going real fast. Sometimes you can be speeding and not know exactly how fast you're going, but you know if you're going that far over the limit. So the last thing you do when you know they got your ass dead to rights is start acting like him when you get pulled over. You know this is not profiling. You know this is not because you got a fancy car. You know you were doing something wrong is why they pulling you over. Why act like that?
Because we live in a 10-tier justice system, and he know as a rich man he was going to walk away from that situation. And when he was on the ground, if he wasn't as rich as he was, if I was him on the ground, I would have been thinking, cha-ching, because I am about to sue the hell out of these people, and I got documentation. They did not need to do him like that. Just because he rolled up the window, I'm taking you to jail. Oh, I'm a rich dude. It didn't even take. He wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't trying to escape or nothing.
No, look.
He rolled the window back down and says, "Why are you beating on my window?" I mean, it was like a $250,000 car. I would have been saying the same thing.
Then why not roll the window down? Why not just do that?
Roll the window down.
So they walked up, and the window was already down, and they beat on it for no reason at all.
They knocked on his window. I don't know if he was in the middle of getting his ID or whatever, but he rolled it down. He gave them the information. He said, write the ticket or whatever, because he was trying to get to the stadium.
Denkel,
after he gave them his information, Yes, when they took his information, I'm assuming you going to run my stuff and go write me a ticket.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he did anything wrong at all?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think he could have handled it a little bit differently.
That's all I'm saying.
But for me to say wrong, I don't know. I don't know what was wrong. You said he took too long to roll down the window.
Okay, he's talking shit. Like, just give me my ticket and let me go. Wait, hold on.
I would have handled it differently.
That's all I'm saying. Is that when you act a fool, sometimes fools find you. I'm not look. At the end of the day,
that wasn't acting a fool. That wasn't acting a fool. If you consider that acting, I can show you some videos right now of people acting a fool.
You're driving 124. Wait a minute. You're doing more than double the speed limit. And when you get pulled over, you're telling the cop to hurry up and write me a ticket. You don't see no acting a fool in that at all.
If I'm on my way to a football
nobody gives a damn where you're on your way to, Denko.
Exactly. So now you're talking about how they can remove your rights because the way you act. That's not right. Period. It's not right.
Okay.
You done seen plenty of people. I done seen plenty of people on the side of the road. I mean, cuss the damn cop out. And they said, yeah, remain calm. Hey, sir, look, I'm going to give you a ticket. This is what you got to do. Hey, F you pig, whatever. And they drive the hell off. This dude said, hurry up and give me my ticket. And now you saying somehow he deserved to have his rights?
No, he did. I'm simply, no, he did a lot worse than just say, give me my ticket. He was talking shit to them. And you didn't see none of that.
What did he say that offended you for you to think that if I was a cop, okay, now I'm about to take his rights away from him? Because that's all feelings. That's all his feelings.
Well, my point I'm making, and let me make it clear to you while we're going back and forth, I clearly believe the cops went too far. I'm not arguing with that.
Okay. They went too far
but
what he said.
But while I believe the cops went too far, the point I'm making is simply complying would have all of that would have went away. If he had did what you, I, and 99% of Americans do when they're pulled over, none of that would have happened.
He is not you or I.
Then that's his fault.
Is himself. Yeah, it's his fault. But guess what? Now the cops about to come out and make an apology, just like they did with the other guy, the golfer, Spates or whatever. Yeah, the cops. Yes, they abuse their rights. They abuse people's rights. They go too far. And then you go into court, and then what's the cop going to say? They're going to say, well, okay, well, what brought this on? He was talking shit. What is he going to say in court?
I don't know something, Dick. Honestly, I don't know if the I hear your point. I don't know if I feel confident. And I see in the comments, Gen X says, Dinkow gonna make me call his ass you people. Damn. Okay, I understand your point. But you might get an old school Judge Dinkow that says, look, at the end of the day, you lucky they didn't give you a reckless driving ticket. The fact that they dragged you out of the car the way you were acting, considering how fast you were going, and all they let you go with was a warning. I don't know. I don't know if I feel confident what you're saying is going to happen will happen.
Tim, that is the admittance that they were wrong. If they had all rights and all of them cops were standing there, nobody would be saying give him a warning. Somebody used their brain in that situation and said, look, this done went too far. We done took too many liberties. We got other people. We got pedestrians out here in handcuffs. We got to end this because they were wrong. Period.
Yeah, I think where you and I agree, the cops went too far. Where we disagree is his actions possibly causing his outcome.
If his actions are words, if his actions are not rolling
his actions were non-compliance too. When they asked him to step out of the car, he wasn't doing that either.
He said, I have to rewatch it, but the guy had to get from in front of the door because the door goes directly up. It's not a regular door like me and your door.
He wouldn't even roll the window down at first, which is why they went for the door.
At first, so you're saying it took too long?
No, he
didn't roll down the window. It just took too long.
He didn't take too long. He was not doing it. If you watch the video, they're constantly telling him to do stuff that he's not doing. It ain't that he took too long. He wasn't going to do it.
Well, then why did he roll the window down if he wasn't going to do it? He didn't have to. He was sitting inside the car.
He let the window down about that much. That dude was...
Look, I've seen a case. You're not required to lower your window down to the standard that they say. You're supposed to roll your window down to a level where you can communicate clearly with an officer. Right. That is the officer being in his feelings.
And that is I don't disagree with you. The cops had an ego issue. But what I'm saying is it looks to me like a battle of two egos. The cops had an ego issue. They went too damn far, but he certainly was doing everything he could to provoke them. That's not going to work in court, a provocation, but he was certainly doing that.
We agree, but the difference is one of them was hired to protect and serve and protect people's rights. The other one was hired to play football and has no obligation to respect the cop's feelings.
I gotta say, good luck with that in court. I don't feel confident as much. Although, like I said, I keep saying the cops went too far. I don't feel confident that he could go to court with that case the way he was acting. Because you're admitting you would never tell your kids to act like him. Most parents would also say that his behavior. I don't know if he's going to walk out of court with much money. I don't see it. I mean, what he did.
He probably won't take it very far for the simple fact that he got away with doing something that me and you would have went to jail for. So he may not go to court, but he definitely can. And the reason why they only gave him a dang on warning was because they knew they were wrong, period.
All right, we'll see about that. I got to move it on, though, Dencal. Always a spirited discussion. Thank you for coming through.
What's up?
All right. And I got to figure out how to get the whole way the program is set up. I don't know. I got a new device, which is why you see I don't normally bring up but a guest. We don't like a lot of talking over, but I don't know why it's set up that way. But I'm on a new phone, so I got to figure out how the screen works and things like that. There's part of TikTok I don't know. So you guys, if you guys know what I need to touch to get this to look the way it normally do, state it in the comments. Look it in the comments, by the way, before we continue on. And you get pulled over, and I did everything you're supposed to do. But this is in the middle of the night. I raised the window down, and I had ran a light or something like that. And the cop walks up with that Boston accent, and it caught me off guard. I was about to say a joke, but I'm like, shit, I don't know how this guy's gonna take it. But that accent, that's the last time I got pulled over, was in Boston several years ago. Looking in the comments for Charlotte, I have a really good stance on this. Bring me on. Let's have a question. We will certainly do that in time. Real quick. I haven't seen the arrest, but it sounds like the driver is a prick, and the cops were not much better. Sounds like all of them are going to get embarrassed for it. Good. Steve Smith, I think that would be my opinion of it, is that the cops are bound more by the law. So if a person is being a prick, the cops do not have the right to escalate the situation and respond by being pricks as well, which is what Dencal was stating, my last caller was stating. However, the problem is a large portion of society are okay with that. Large portion of society believes that that's the reason why a lot of these kids and things like that have become the way they are. It's lack of discipline. So understand, a lot of old school folks are going to favor how the cops treated him like that. Because a lot of people believe you should, quote unquote, respect police. Now, as my last caller was suggesting, and many other comments were suggesting as well, there is no law requiring you respect authority. But a lot of old school folks believe you should, and if you do not, there should be consequences. And that's kind of where that came from. Tap the screen, by the way, get the likes up to about 15,000. This is certainly a different, we're going to talk about the debate tonight, but maybe some of you folks obviously think I'm getting it wrong on this. We'll go to the box. Mike, I don't know what the rest of that said, but good afternoon, Mike. Welcome to the program. Mike.
Oh, hello. I did it by mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Appreciate you coming through. All right, we'll move it on.
All right.
Thank you. All right, looking in the car, like I said, I'm trying to figure out the way TikTok is doing this. I haven't figured out this device yet. Let me try it with the next guest here. They got Randy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What am I getting wrong?
Well, you said he was going 124. He was doing 60 and a 40.
Okay, now that's a big difference. That's a big difference.
Yeah, because I used to live in that area, so I'm very familiar with it. And let's see what else. Oh, as far as him moving and getting out the car, I don't know if anybody in here has ever been in that type of car. It's McLaren. Those seats are like a bucket seats, so you just can't jump up.
Why not?
So
why not tell the? Then why not? First of all, if he had to let the window down, the cop would have never asked him to get out of the car. That's probably the first thing. Now we're getting to the seats and how deep he's in the car. But go ahead.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'll back up before that. So he had already handed his ID. He rolled the window up. When the cop knocked on it, he said, "Why are you knocking on my window like this?" So they already knew who he was. So what he was trying to do is keep traffic from stopping because people are going to recognize. I mean, he even said that.
But that's not going to, just like my last caller was talking about, who he is and he's on the way to a game. When you're dealing with police, they don't care nothing about that. Everybody ain't Trump where they can say, I'm about to get, a presidential race. I need you to delay my sentence. That don't work for most people. Nobody cares that you are a celebrity. When the police need you to do what they need you to do, nobody cares that, look, if people raise the window, you don't have a right to tell them that.
So, but also though, I'm gonna go back to something you just said. But here's the way I look at it, right? Mm-hmm. To me, if I fought for my right to have free speech, right, then why should I sit there and hold it back? Now he wasn't calling them any derogatory names. He just wasn't moving fast enough for that. But also though, as far as that type of treatment, my thing is, how you gonna have no felony?
Tyreek Hill when he was pulled over. Would you advise your kids to do the same thing in that situation?
I could tell them that, but it's different when you're actually in that situation, especially with the climate that we live in.
How is it different?
Because just the things that we've seen over time, just like with Jalen Walker, Philando Castile. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm not sitting there saying that you need to be scared, but yet and still, you never know. Just like I could be having a bad day, that officer could be having a bad day. We both trying to get home.
So do you see what he did? Like, let's say you're bringing a Philando Castile and Jalen Walker, these folks who have met a bad end. But Jalen Walker's alive, but he got stabbed and all that, or shot up. But in regards to what you're bringing up. If you are afraid the police may mistreat you, like with Jalen Walker, Sandra Bland, and some of these folks, do you believe what Tyreek Hill did gives you a better chance of a better outcome with police? Randy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Because there was just a little lag. Repeat what you said again.
If you are focused on you're bringing up Jalen Walker in Kenosha, you're bringing up Philando Castile, who was killed in front of his daughter and girlfriend. If you are fearful that police may harm you, do you believe the actions of Tyreek Hill improve the chances of a better outcome?
I'm 50-50 with that because, like I said, until you're until you've been put in that situation, you don't know how you're going to react.
So you think the person scared of cops? Some people should think that what he did will make it likely that your outcome will be better. You said a 50-50 outcome.
Well, the reason why I'm saying that is because, for example, if you've never ever been pulled over before in your life, and you get pulled over, and I mean, what's your first thought? You understand what I'm saying? After seeing what's been going on in the world.
I know what's been going on in the world because we've all received a talk from our parents. I don't know any parent that has told their child, do what Tyreek Hill did, and that'll better your outcome. I don't even think white people tell their kids to do what he did. Even folks that may think they have privilege would not advise somebody to do what he did. I don't get your 50-50 part.
Okay, so we are, you know as well as I do, we are treated differently, right?
Okay.
If we breathe the wrong way, if we sit there and matter of fact, if you go and watch that video, it's hard to comply when you have
one officer telling you to do one thing and another officer is telling you to do another.
I think that if you get pulled over by a cop, by the time they get to your car, the window should just be down. And the fact that they arguing over letting the window up and down, when they walking up to your car, I agree 10 and 2 don't do a lot of movements, but letting your window down is a real quick, subtle movement you can do without any alarming actions to the police. By the time they get to your car, the window should already be down. I think that's just courtesy. I don't think that's, bending over backwards. That's just a courtesy.
But so what law states that you have to have that window down?
Now that's a different question. That's what I stated earlier to my last call. It's a difference between
because I've seen several times where people just put their ID up to the window.
And that is not part of the talk. That's what I keep telling you. There's a difference between what you have a right to do and what is likely to affect your outcome in going home. Which one are you fighting for? You can't get both sometimes. Putting an ID up to the window and refusing to, you have a legal right to do that. But you might not get home doing that. That's what I'm saying. Are you trying to make it home to your family, or are you sitting there playing Ben Franklin trying to defend the Constitution?
Okay, you know what? I'll say it like this. Okay, so initially, from the very beginning, I'm thinking, and me myself personally, I'm thinking to myself, I would have left the window down.
Right.
However, as you go and watch the whole video, the police had more aggression. To me, it seemed like that they were jealous because they mentioned, said, "Oh yeah, you want to get a check so you can help pay for that car."
Yeah, I don't disagree that I've said it several times. The police went overboard. What I'm saying though is when you act like an ass with the cops, you sometimes get asshole cops as a response. I strongly believe that if he had done what 99.9% of Americans do when they get pulled over, none of that would have happened to him. He was in a rush. He was letting the cops know. He was hesitant to let the window down. Even when they told him to sit, which I think the cop was really wrong to tackle him while he was handcuffed, but he was resisting that as well. Nothing they told him to do, he just did it. Every step of the way, they had to push and get him to do stuff. He was non-compliant the whole time.
You talking about when he was handcuffed?
Yeah.
He had just not too long ago had surgery.
You could begin sitting down in a peaceful way. I mean, hold on. Let me just say this too, because he did scream out, "I just had surgery on my knee." When you go out and score a touchdown and you're celebrating, that whole knee argument don't really hold a lot of weight anymore. He did say that though. You go play football.
Did you see what he did when he scored a touchdown?
Yeah, he put his hands behind his back.
Yeah. And did you see the interview with him?
Yeah, when he said, "Look, if I wasn't who I am, it could have had a bad outcome."
Well, that not only that, he shook all their hands, after everything was over and all that. So that's why it's hard for me to understand why people are saying that he should have reacted differently, but he didn't do anything that was threatening toward the officers.
Let me tell you why I'm saying it myself personally. Maybe others, particularly a lot of African Americans are going to disagree with me. I get it. But the reason why I'm saying this and holding him to this account personally is because I know as an African American, you've had to talk. People have told you what to do when dealing with police. And then you go out there and you do that shit and you complain about having a bad outcome. What the hell was the purpose of having to talk with you to begin with? They're telling you. The reason why you're telling you to put your hands on 10 and 2 and shit like that is because they're letting you know if you do what you did, the outcome you had is likely to happen. That's the whole purpose of the talk. He went out there on game day with the police and ignored everything he had learned in the offseason. We all know that you can't do what Tyreek Hill did. But because Tyreek Hill is who he is, he decided I can do it. And the outcome was not good.
I can on some of that I can agree with you, but on other parts, it's just like I kind of disagree with you because I've seen the treatment depending on what you look like when it comes to different people. I mean, you got a woman walking right into
that's the
police
purpose of the
station,
talk.
busting off rounds, but you know what I'm saying. So I mean, I know it's the purpose of the talk, but it's
Right.
like if you but why let somebody violate your rights if that's something that you fight for? Because if you let them take them away, what's next?
Then why have the talk to begin with? If you go, what is the purpose of the talk to begin with? If you're stating that I should be able to go out here and do what I want in defense of my, then why have the talk?
To know when I would say like, well, you can have the talk and all that, but you still need to know your rights.
Yes, I do agree. You need to know your rights. That's when you go to court and fight. But on the side of the road, your rights don't mean a damn thing. You're never going to win a constitutional argument with a cop on the side of the road. I don't care if you're 100% right. If that cop thinks you're wrong on the side of the road, he is judge, jury, and executioner. You're not going to win that argument there.
But why? I'm gonna ask you this question before I go. Answer this question.
Sure.
What's the purpose in general to why we have to have the talk?
Because there's a history of African Americans in particular, with people of color as well, being mistreated by police officers. I mean, everything from the media to a hell of a lot of other forms of media you encounter shows us as bad people committing crimes and things like that. And we have the unique issue, whereas a lot of our communities are being policed by people that are from outside of our communities. I'll give you a perfect example. If you had you and I as African Americans acting as police officers in rural Alabama or somewhere, and there was a white citizen doing exactly what Tyreek Hill did, the whites wouldn't like it either. The fact is, you got too many folks that are from outside of the community policing the community, and the citizens in those communities don't have respect for him. But that don't mean you can just do what he did and expect to have a peaceful outcome. It's just not going to work that way.
The thing is, I just feel like you shouldn't. Nobody's perfect, right? And you were talking about police officers, so just
Thank
like
you,
with
yeah.
What is his name? What was his name? Tyree. I think was it Tyree? That was the one where the 5 officers unalived him.
Yeah, down in Memphis.
Right, and they were immediately fired and charged.
Yeah.
So it's like damn if you do and damn if you don't.
Well, there are some white cops that get charged pretty quick, but I agree with you. That's the whole Black Lives Matter issue, is that, Black lives don't seem to matter. That's where that starts. I get that point, but I'm simply saying there is a reason why people are giving you the talk. If you go on the side of the road and ignore everything you were told, they're letting you know the outcome is not going to be good. Tyreek Hill knew that.
Well, we just gonna have to just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see what he's gonna do with it. Yeah, we'll just see what he's gonna do with it.
Fair enough, Randy. I appreciate. Go ahead.
All right, I was gonna say I appreciate. The last time I talked to you was I think it was Jalen Walker. So it's been a minute.
Oh shit.
It's been a minute.
Oh,
but yeah,
shit.
all right. I appreciate you.
All right, and by the way, I got hammered on that as well. Jalen Walker gets pulled over and decides to dart back into his car.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, before I go, PSA for everybody, listen, don't run with scissors and don't scissor with the run. So I'm out.
I can deal with that. Appreciate it. Let me move it on. All right. Don't run with scissors and don't scissor with the run. I'm not going to deny that the police often go too far, certainly with people of color, particularly black men. However, regardless of that fact, if the goal is to make it home at the end of the day, non-compliance is not a good idea. And most of the folks that do end up having a negative outcome, it started with non-compliance. And the cop went too far, but it started with non-compliance. Now, Philando Castile, there's a few cases where that's not true, but the overwhelming majority of them are something that originated with non-compliance, and then the cop took it to some obscene level and either, incarcerated the person, beat the hell out of them, or took their life. But it often starts with non-compliance. That's why they're saying, that's why you have the talk. The purpose of the talk is to tell you the value of complying. Yeah, there's bad cops every damn where. I'm not going to ever be heard saying that 99% of cops are good. That's bullshit. 99% of priests are not good. But non-compliance brings things upon you that you normally wouldn't have to deal with. Start out with compliance, and probably, everything from Rodney King on up. A lot of these cases feature people who were actively breaking the law or not compliant when it happened. Start out with compliance, and then we can go ahead and work on the police. But I mean, there is a such thing as being a good victim, where in court you have a good case because you look like a victim that this really should not have happened to you. But a lot of the victims, they're like, yeah, this was wrong, but you were a bad guy. It hurts your case. It doesn't defend the police, but it hurts your case. All right, looking in the comments, tap the screen. Get the likes up to 20,000. Guys are kind of stingy on that. I know this is not a topic you want to hear. People are pissed off. Certainly can't get you guys to tap the screen. Should have been around 30,000 likes by now. We got almost 700 people in here, but most of them are pissed off at my stance on this. It is what it is. We are always about free speech. We are MAGA friendly, but liberals are welcome on the program as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. So understand you don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section up to and including the host. Going back to the box, we'll continue on with Chase Scarp. I don't know what that last name was. I saw it said Chase. Cops were in the right, says Dustin. I don't know if they were 100% in the right, but I think because of how he acted, a lot of folks are going to support what they did. Chase, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. How's it going?
That's going good. So, what am I getting wrong? Thank you for the hat and mustache there. What am I getting wrong?
Well, in my honest opinion, I think what you're getting wrong, and yeah, I do see a lot of people in the comments are kind of pissed off with you.
Yeah, that happens.
It's because the stance that you're coming from is coming from a place of protecting the police and what they were doing.
But I'm not. I've said a million times what the cops did was wrong. I'm not. I'm just not endlessly bashing them.
But saying that you believe the cops are wrong and then also saying that we should just comply no matter what rights we are given is sticking up for the police.
Well, but I did make it clear. There is two trains of thought when you're dealing with police. Thought number one is, do I want to stand up for my rights, my constitutional rights? Or do I want to make it home to my family? The argument I'm making is that you don't always get to walk away with both. On the side of the road, if the cop has it wrong, let's say, for instance, you're open carrying in a state that it is legal to open carry, but the cop doesn't know the damn law and is messing with you. Do you think it's safe to try to defend your constitutional rights on the side of the road with that cop?
That's not this situation, though.
No, but if this situation here is not safe. If they're telling you to roll the window down and get out of the car and you're resisting, even in this situation, it's not safe.
Okay, so cops nowadays choose to use the officer safety rule every single time they try to pull somebody out of the car. Now, they can only use the officer safety rule if they have exigent circumstances. Okay. Just him cracking his window and refusing to roll it down any further, that's not exigent circumstances. So therefore, the cops are in the wrong.
This is what I keep telling you. I'm not saying the cops weren't wrong. We're on the side of the highway, so you sound like you're in court. That doesn't work on the side of the highway. Your case may be valid in court, but when you're on the side of the highway, which one is more important, your constitutional rights or going home to your family? That's how this works.
I'm going to follow up your question with a question.
Sure.
Did the cops not swear to uphold and defend the constitutional rights of every citizen?
Yes.
They did. So because they swore and they took an oath, because of what they did, their consequences are losing their qualified immunity. We are directly seeing what has happened because of their wrongdoings and because of the way they chose to escalate the situation. Now, was the dude wrong? The driver, was he wrong in the way that he chose to come across to the police? Yeah, he could have stayed level-headed. He could have stayed calm. but he chose to use his rights, and his feelings got brought up in those rights because he has a right to invoke those rights he has.
Jason, thank you for the subscription. Like I said, I'm listening to you, and if I'm in court and you're on the other side of the table, or maybe I'm the the judge or something, I understand your point. But on the side of the road, that stuff is irrelevant. On the side of the road, if you act like what he acted like, this is what can happen. That's the point I'm trying to make.
It's not irrelevant, though, because there are checks and balances in our government to work for a certain reason. They're set up for a very certain reason. The police are the front line of law enforcement. They swore to uphold and defend the Constitution. The law starts with them because they are the first foot soldiers to meet the public, to send them to court.
Do you realize how many checks and balances have been put in place for somebody after their face was on a t-shirt? I'm not arguing with that. I'm saying it while you're dealing with it, while it's actually happening to you, all of that legal jargon you're talking about is not going to get you out of this situation. It may get your family a whole bunch of money, but while it's happening to you, that stuff is not going to get you away from this.
So what will get you away from it is, okay, you're right. I'm going to go ahead and give you this. I see your point. At the end of the day, stick up for your rights or comply, bow down, and go home. Yeah. I see your point. At the end of the day, it's about safety and making sure you get home. But with issues like this, we have rights for a reason. The cops are supposed to respect and uphold those rights. Yeah. The fact that they chose not to, they now get to they now get the repercussions of their actions. They lose their qualified immunity, and that is a part of the process. At the end of the day, after the whole process is said and done with, and they go to court, and you didn't get to go home that day, after court is all said and done with, you still get to go home.
I don't even feel confident in what you guys are saying, that the cops, once this go to court, that they're going to be punished to any significant degree. There's a large portion of America that believes if you act like Tyreek Hill did, now him being black doesn't help him out at all. But even if he was a white athlete, I still believe there would be a hell of a lot of Americans that think if you act snobby like that and they treat you the way they did, some folks believe you kind of deserve that. I don't. I think the cops overdid it, but I'm simply saying, if Tyreek Hill complied, none of this would have happened. Do you agree? Do you agree with that, by the way? Do you agree that if he had complied, none of this would have happened?
I mean, I can't say. I wasn't there. I mean, it's already happened, so it's kind of irrelevant to speculate on.
So if he had let the window down and handed him his license and answered questions, you still think it's a possibility they would have yanked him out of the car and did all that?
I mean, it depends on the characters of the officers. At this point, I would need to do a full investigation myself and do FOIA requests on their records and their personal officer records to determine whether it would happen or not.
I mean, I can't push it any further than that, but we totally disagree with that. I mean, I totally disagree with what you're saying. If he had been compliant, I mean, at the end of the day, they still didn't charge him with any damn thing, but if he had been compliant, there's no way in hell I think they would. Certainly when he's handcuffed and the guy tackles him again, you believe that might have happened anyway? There's no way I believe that would have happened.
But you got to think about what time we live in. We're living in a time where we have one president who is pushing for full immunity for officers, which is giving officers this big egoed idea that they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. So, I don't disagree with that.
That's going to continue to happen.
I don't disagree with that, but then if you're going to point to the tumultuous time we're living in, then that means what Tyreek Hill did is even further perilous. If you believe that it's that bad, then acting like him is really not a good idea.
Well, I mean, acting the way they did is one thing, but as far as what is right and wrong in this situation, Sure, the driver was in the wrong for the way that he came off to the officers. Did he have to respect them? No, he didn't. It's not. There's no sort of public or law or rule saying that we have to respect them.
True. That is true. And I'll go back to what I said before. The whole purpose of you having the talk is to let you know if you're not respectful to police when they're dealing with you, bad things can happen. I mean, to get pulled over on the side of the road and exercise your right not to be respectful to police officers, the chance of you having a bad outcome goes up significantly. And that, even if you're white, I mean, seriously. Go ahead.
Having that kind of idea and pushing it on to your younger generation saying, hey, you must comply or this is what's going to happen. That automatically sets those people up for future mental problems with police saying, hey, we can't trust them, so we have to comply. That's not the route to go. That's a very dangerous narrative to be speaking towards the public.
So you think that, I'll ask you the same question I've asked all the previous guests. Would you advise your child to act the way he did?
I've heard you ask that question, and I'm going to respond back with, I will advise my child to use their constitutional rights in any sort of interaction with any member of the government. I will say that every single time, because law enforcement's questions and rolling down the window and talking to them, it's not meant to help you. It is meant to catch you up in some sort of lie or give them evidence to use against you in court. That's why you stay silent. That's why we have the Fifth Amendment to stay silent in any interaction with law enforcement.
So you would advise your child, if they're asking you to roll the window down, to be hesitant or don't do it?
Well, first of all, both of my kids, they have vehicles, and my number one rule for their safety when it comes to law enforcement is that they are not allowed to have any sort of window tint on their vehicle so that the officer could not say that there was exigent circumstances and they couldn't see anything.
Okay.
So there's ways of making sure that you make sure your kids are protected in these situations.
But I mean, if you got officers standing on the side of the car,
the fact that I'm even having to say that, the fact that we have to protect our children in that way, that's kind of the issue here. Like we shouldn't have to defend ourselves in so many different ways when it comes to law enforcement, when law enforcement should just simply be respecting our constitutional rights.
I 100% agree with that, but you're not going to cure that on the side of the road. That ain't the place to fight for your liberties. It's not.
No, that is exactly where it starts, because you let the officers run over your constitutional rights, and then you take them to court. They lose their qualified immunity. That is a blip on their record, which means it's going to be harder for them to find jobs later. It's part of the consequential, it's part of the process.
Okay, well, you can do that, but you might be doing it while in court with your child's face on a T-shirt. A lot of laws have been changed on behalf of victims while the victim was deceased. I'm not saying that what you're saying is not necessarily accurate. I'm just simply saying when it comes to going home to your family, some of the things you're suggesting may be counterproductive to that.
It may be, but it's come down to a matter where it's to each their own. You pick what I say is good. Already traumatized by what has happened surrounding police and the public, and there is no longer any respect towards the police because of that matter. Nothing is being done about it, which is why there's no respect.
Well, and I don't disagree with that part, but I'm just simply saying, if you have a problem with the way the police are acting, you believe the police are overstepping their boundary or often injuring innocent people, acting like Tyreek Hill is the last thing you should do. If you feel that the police cannot be trusted, there's no way in hell you should go to a traffic stop acting like that.
But saying that somebody goes all the way back to Hitler times, that's trying to say that we need to comply and bow down and do everything that our government says because they think it's in our good interest, whenever we have our own ideas of our own good interest against government's ideas.
All right. Well, like I said, you're playing attorney on the side of the road. I'm with you on the constitutional rights and the fact that you don't have to respect police. I'm 100% with you. I'm just simply saying that works in court on the side of the road. Even if you're 100% correct, if that officer thinks you're wrong, you are wrong. You're not going to win a court case on the side of the road. All of that stuff, that's not going to get you away from that cop on the side of the road.
Well, it may not get you away from the cop on the side of the road, but it'll get you a good paycheck at the end of the whole interaction.
Assuming you'll be around to collect it. I got to move it on, though, Chase. Appreciate you coming through.
All right.
All right, good talk. And by the way, I understand this is, I'm really in the minority on this topic. You guys, God, I'm getting hammered today. Look, at the end of the day, I'm giving you how I feel about this. I'm not doing it for clicks and likes. I do believe that you got a choice. You're fighting for your liberties or you're fighting for your life. And until the system changes, it is what it is. Now, what my last guest and many of my guests were saying is something that certainly needs to be argued in court. Hopefully we can progress so that you're not choosing between one or the other. But this is the system that we currently have. This is what we have right now. Until it changes, you're not going to win on the side of the road. Great question on YouTube. Moogly asks, what did you think about Rosa Parks becoming along? And they protested until they won. But that's what I'm saying. I'm glad Rosa Parks had that fight. But what she did was against the law. It was a terrible law, but it was against the law. Looking in the comments. Okay, give them a speeding ticket and move on, says RJ918. Yeah, give them a speeding ticket. I'm with all of that. I don't know what part of, if you don't comply, a bad outcome is possible. I don't know what part of that are folks not hearing. I'm not saying the non-compliance is something you don't have a legal right to do. You have a legal right to be disrespectful, to be angry with cops. You have a legal right to do a lot of shit when dealing with police. But as they often say, just because you can do something doesn't mean it's often in your best interest to do it. That's all I'm saying. So bringing up what you have a legal right to do, no one's arguing with that. I question if, I don't know what Tyreek Hill did that I'm confident he didn't have a legal right to do other than speeding. But like I said, just because you think, which is just comply, the way African Americans can get their respect from police is simple: by becoming police. The African American community, just simply due to fucking history, do not put police in a high regard. In fact, if you become an officer as a black person, half your community thinks you're a snitch. You're working for the man. That mentality needs to change. If you could have more people from the community policing the community, the people of that community would respect the folks they know, the folks they grew up with. That is how you get more respect between the police and folks in the community. Because of how we view police as black folks, there's not enough of us to do the job. So you got folks from outside of the community that don't know a damn thing about the people in the community, given the job of policing the community, and they come heavy-handed. A lot of them are trigger happy. Some of them are frightened because they've been told, things about black folks that are not always accurate. But being policed by somebody that you went to elementary school with or you went to high school, that's what needs to happen. That would improve the relationship between blacks and cops significantly. Is more blacks for their community need to police it. As I said earlier in the live, if I'm in a all-white community, or all-white rural community somewhere, and I'm the cop, they're not going to respect me either. They're not likely to respect me either. You don't have the same level of respect for somebody that's an outsider. And in the black community, a large portion of the police force are outsiders. Looking in the comments, what about holding these people accountable? Holding cops accountable is necessary, but that's not going to make black folks respect them anymore. In fact, that might lead, if you made it so that police have to absolutely follow the color of the law 100% of the time, in my opinion, it might lead to more people being willing to push the envelope. If you don't like somebody, you're going to try to get away with as much as you can. And once you start really, really holding police accountable, my guess is the citizens might push back even further. I mean, black folks don't respect white police officers. That's not going to change by holding white police officers accountable. They don't respect them, period. They don't like them. You're not going to change that by holding cops accountable. Even though cops should be held accountable, that's not going to change that. That probably would actually embolden some of the criminals to push the envelope a little further. You need people from the community to police people in that community. That's just my opinion. Going back to the box. I know I'm not answering any of these questions right for you folks, but that's how it works. DJ Julio, good afternoon. That's the thing he should be respecting. You. He works for you. He serves the public. You do not owe him respect. RJ, you and I are not disagreeing. I'm just simply saying on the side of the road, it is what it is. DJ Julio.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm in the trenches today. I don't have no friends today. What am I doing wrong?
Well, now you know what it feels like to be me. Hold on a second. I'm going to kill this camera real quick so that I can have a little bit of service with you. Maybe that'll be... I felt like I was lagging. Man, listen, you got it right. It speaks to everything that I've said before. It does you no damn good to not... You got pulled over. You're doing something wrong. I'm sorry. Here's my ID. Here's my insurance. Please get me on my way. I got a football game to go to. He would have been in and out of there. No media. No bullshit. And none of this.
Yeah, I will say, you ever heard of the phrase, it's easier to get flies with honey than vinegar or something like that? You know, a simple apology or look, I didn't know I was speeding, sir. I'm wrong or whatever. I don't. Now, my last caller said that even if he was totally compliant and respective, that still may have happened to him. Do you see it the same way?
No, I was listening to that cop. He was being very respectful, and then he tapped on his window, and the first thing Tyreek says is, "Don't tap on my window like that." Well, roll your fucking window down.
Yeah. Like I said, I do believe that Tyreek...
I'm with... If it's your stance that Tyreek screwed up, the cops didn't need to necessarily go that hard, but Tyreek screwed up, you got my support in that 100%.
Yeah. And that is my stance, is that if Tyreek was compliant, all of the rest of the stuff that happened from that would not have happened. I believe that if he was a compliant, when he got pulled over, a compliant driver, none of that would have happened. I don't think he would have had to step out of the car or any of that. If he had handed him his license, look, sir, I'm sorry I was speeding. I didn't realize it, or whatever the case may be, and left it at... Now, he has a right to act the way he did, which is what many of my callers have said. He did have a right to do that. But at the end of the day, if you had a right to be an asshole, some of the cops you face may not be friendly.
Well, and that's exactly the case, and I do follow a lot of that First Amendment stuff. And, when you get pulled over, are you traveling or are you driving? The different, all of that's just freaking there to make argument, make somebody's life a little bit harder. Hey, you did something wrong. You got pulled over. If they can't cite what you got pulled over for, then that's when you ask for a supervisor.
Yeah.
At that point, if they can cite why they pulled you over, man, be respectful, be responsible, go home.
Yeah, I really wish I was in my makeshift studio so I could put the video up, because there's a lot of folks. I see DLOJ in the comments saying he was compliant, gave him his license and registration, and rolled up the window. He had more to say than that. I mean, he made it clear he was in a hurry. He was like, just give me my ticket. I mean, he was acting like a Karen.
Yeah, come on, man. Just give me my ticket. I got to get somewhere. Well, roll your window down, be respectful, and you would have been gone, dude.
Here's a funny one, DJ. Stick the Ruler says, you have the right to act like Trump. Now, we know how Trump acted in court and things like that. I got to say that Trump isn't very compliant either. Even though we're not talking about him, but Trump kind of has that whole Tyreek Hill mentality, don't he?
Well, I can tell you right now that if Trump got pulled over, he would have rolled down the window. as a civilian, he'd have rolled down the window and handled his shit.
I don't know. If he rolled down the window, I don't know. Trump might have said the same shit. It's a witch hunt. You just messing with me, trying to prevent me from getting to the debate. I don't know.
Who knows the difference between what's true and what's not?
If Trump was like, okay, we talk about some of these rappers like the Eazy-E's and Snoop Dogg getting their whole tour bus pulled over. If Trump, as a citizen, if they pulled over his bus, that's obviously the Secret Service is there, but if they pulled it, I think he would probably be non-compliant too. I actually think Trump would act like that.
Really?
Yeah. I think he would say the liberals are trying to prevent him from getting to his debate or trying to prevent him from getting to Mar-a-Lago. I think he would say something.
Okay, now I can agree with you. If we're talking in the last 6 years, if he got pulled over,
right?
I mean, now if he got pulled over, they'd have to deal with his Secret Service first, and then
right.
Eventually he'd have to do whatever. But I'm talking like when he was a businessman, before he was a president, before he was running for president. I mean, I've never done it, but I've never heard of any big conspiracy behind him getting pissed off at a cop for getting pulled over. I've never seen that on national news. I've never seen it anywhere.
Well, something, to be honest with you, in regards to Trump, a whole lot of shit's coming out about how he treated people and things he was doing that I had never heard before he got elected. I didn't know he had so many contractors and things like that he didn't pay off until he became president. When you become president, a lot of your negative past comes up. Trump was well respected, well liked before he became president. A lot of things came up we didn't know about.
Right, but let me ask you this question. Why did it take his 4 years, Biden's 4 years, for any of it to come up? Why is all this taking 8 freaking years for people to come up and say, I don't like this guy? Why didn't they do it in 16? Why didn't they come at him hard for that stuff in 16?
My guess is there probably were people.
They better have receipts. They better have receipts, because if they don't have receipts, the hammer's coming down. People are going to start getting sued for libel.
Do you really think Trump, out of all of the people you could come up with saying that you need to have receipts, saying something about Trump, if Trump dares suggest somebody have receipts or sue somebody for libel, he's like the last person on earth that could sue somebody claiming that you need to be able to prove what you're saying. He said everything from Obama tapped his office to Barack Obama was born in Kenya. He don't have receipts for none of that stuff.
Do you know what a construction lien is?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it was true that Trump didn't pay these contractors, there would be construction liens. Correct?
Maybe, depending on It depends on if they follow through. Some people get ripped off and figure it ain't worth the effort.
If they're a contractor for Trump, it's $1 million jobs. Come on.
Well, no, it depends. But you also know you're going to be dealing with $1 million lawyers you're fighting with. I mean, let's say you work for Trump. You got 2 weeks pay. Let's say you work for Trump as a regular, everyday, average American, and he owes you 2 weeks pay, which, back in them days may have been $500, maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500. You know that this guy got endless lawyers. He's a billionaire. You are a regular working contractor that he owes $1,500 to. I'm going to assume most Americans would have to eat that loss. I mean, you going to go sue him?
No. I do it around my town. I'm a one-man shop in my town. I'm a one-man shop, and I have.
You get my point. You get my.
They don't want to pay their bill, and it's been 60 days. It's been 90 days, and the second I send him my letter that says my next step is going and we're filing a construction lien against your property, I will immediately default that lien, and your property will become mine.
Yeah, but you're talking about somebody like Trump who has whole law teams going against an average everyday worker, might not even be in the country damn legally, going up for 2 weeks pay, trying to hope to win a case against Trump in court. I'm going to tell you, most working people would just eat that loss. They're not. You're not even guaranteed to win. Then you got Michael Cohen maybe showing up around your house, convincing your mom to tell you to back off. You don't know what may happen in that.
You're right, I don't. But I can tell you that a man with that kind of money is not going to waste his time not paying somebody.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
That is bad publicity
because he would have never continued to be a builder.
Rich people screw people all the time. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, but it's not in the labor force. Labor force is very, very rarely fucked with.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that. I mean, his attorney's even going around saying he was screwing people.
I mean, I work in the trades, and I know that we don't get screwed too awful much. If we get screwed, it's by a small homeowner. Someone that can't afford it.
Maybe they do things differently in South Dakota than they do in New York, but I mean, there's a lot of people. So, I mean, even the Trump University, if he actually was as concerned with his image and legacy as you're saying, that whole Trump University thing would not have happened. The whole issue with him, his apartment complex is not renting to people of color. None of that stuff would have happened. He clearly was screwing people over and was losing in court for doing it.
Well, then I guess what we can say is because he continued to do it and he continued to grow, that obviously he learned his lesson and he repented and moved on.
Well, yeah, he learned his lesson.
He made his things right and moved on, because you can't move on from that situation if you've never taken care of it.
He learned his lesson, and the lesson was, I can get away with this. So there's no reason to follow through. I know I can get away with it. That's the lesson.
Well, I mean, eventually he's going to end up having to pay. So, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you know more about that subject than I do.
I'll tell you, the perfect example is what happened
I don't see any. I haven't seen any receipts on it.
I'll tell you the perfect example where there is receipts is him being found in contempt in his last court case. He was found in contempt 10 times. Is there any reason why he should ever listen to a judge again? He was found in contempt 10 times, no punishment whatsoever. He learned his lesson that he can get away with it.
Contempt. I mean, he was fucking gagged in his own trial. That is first unconstitutional.
What happened to just comply? What happened to just comply? He is not complying. I don't care if the trial is bullshit. Just like I said, with a cop on the side of the road, you can't win. You can't beat a judge in court. If the judge is telling you what you're doing, you're going to be held in contempt. Yelling out that my case is bullshit is not going to help you. He learned that he can get away with it.
Right, but we're also learning that in light of all the new stuff that's come out about that's all probably going away too. And Eugene Carroll's going to have to pay back $83 million.
Well, Eugene Carroll she never received anything, so she ain't going to pay back shit. The money is in the trust.
Right. Well, that money's going to be going back.
I don't buy that. I think that him, because he claimed.
Oh, come on.
I'll tell you why. The whole Eugene Carroll case is not that he sexually assaulted her. It's based on him defaming her. She wrote a book stating what Trump had did to her. She never went after him because the statute of limitations were on sexual assault. She wrote a book telling what happened. And Trump was the one that got on social media and said the book was bullshit and it belonged in the fiction section. So once he started defaming her book, she sued him for defamation and went to court and ultimately proved that what she was saying in the book, the jury believed her. So all he had to do was keep his damn mouth shut. He could have just said, look, I don't know what she's talking about. I wish her the best. That would have been it. He was the one that decided to start saying, I don't know the girl, and then she's producing pictures of them together and all of that. He opened his mouth, defamed her, and he lost. And then he did it again. He lost $5 million, did it again, lost $83 million, and he's still doing it now. Nobody's making him do that.
Man stands on his word.
And he stands on his bank account, too. That's why he keep losing.
Yep, and you know what? And as you just said, and I didn't even know that, but now that I do, as you said, his money's stuck in a trust.
Yeah.
His money's going to end up going back to him. All this bullshit, this fiction book, whatever it may be or may not be, I've never read it. But if it was in there defaming him, and those allegations aren't true, then rightfully he should be saying that's his bullshit book. This book belongs in fiction.
I don't. The reason why I don't think he'll, as you say, he'll get the money back. And I see in the comments, Will G says nothing with Trump is that simple. He paid people to make things go away and hold things up. I absolutely agree with that. But him stay in the first case where they found that he actually assaulted Eugene Carroll, A lot of that stemmed from him saying he didn't know who she was and all that. Then they show a picture, and it's clearly him suggesting that, well, that's my ex-wife. I don't think the defamation case goes away in an appeal. I think what will likely happen, because E. Jean Carroll won an insane amount of money, they'll greatly lower how much she can claim. But he's not gonna overturn the defamation. He clearly defamed her, and there's enough evidence to suggest you knew who this woman was. Now he's blaming the picture on artificial intelligence and shit like that. I don't think he's going to overturn that.
I wouldn't have even gone that far with it. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I can't tell you how many people, and I'm not Donald Trump, but I can't tell you how many people I've taken pictures with that I've been introduced to that I wouldn't remember tomorrow until you showed me a picture. And if it was 23 years ago, I'd be like, I still don't know who that person is, but I see I'm in that photo with them.
Okay.
I mean, that is shit that has happened over the course of my career as a DJ.
100% possible. You know? But just because you forget that you were with somebody doesn't take away from the fact that you once were with them. It just means you forgot about it.
Right, but if I had done something that was hurtful to that person, I'd probably remember that.
Not always, because sometimes you can do something that's hurtful to somebody, and they may not let you know it's hurtful to them. Or you might not be thinking what you're doing to them is as bad as what it is. So no, you don't always remember.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. I get what you're saying. I do want to respond to Push. He's a DJ and in construction. Laugh my fucking ass off. That shows the intelligence of some of these people. I work my ass off to provide for my family, and you want to laugh about it. Go ahead and laugh about it, bud. Just keep working at Walmart.
All right, I got to move it on. DJ, always, thank you for coming through.
Yes, and I'm with you 100% with this Tyreek thing.
You're about the only one. Thank you. All right, moving on with the comment. Now, in the comments, Twain the Square says, if I abuse someone, I would remember it. No, I don't totally agree with that. And I'll tell you why. I'm a deprived middle child. Grew up a middle child. And, usually when you're a middle child, sometimes you feel like the parent treated the oldest or the youngest better than you in some cases. The parent don't always remember that. You may feel really hurt or left out as a child, and the parent 15, 20 years from now, you're telling the parent, well, I remember when this happened on Christmas or this, and you did all this stuff for them, and the parent you can actually hurt someone and not know you're doing it. So the idea that you'll always remember, I think it really depends on how vocal the person that you're injuring is about it. There are there are women, for instance, who may be actively being assaulted, and as opposed to really pushing and fighting back or being vocal about what the guy or girl is doing to them, they may just cower up and kind of whimper while it's happening. 20 years from now, you may not remember that. Because the person, look, I just thought this person was enjoying it. A lot of folks have used that as a defense in court. I thought they were enjoying it. So, yeah, the idea that you're always going to remember it, I think there is definitely a possibility you could abuse somebody and not remember it. Look at in the comments, certainly, like police, for instance. If the police can be abusing the hell out of some folks, and knowing, certainly if you've had to talk, as we mentioned, you're not going to push back and fight. So even though the cop is abusing you, you feel like they're mistreating you, that you'll never forget. All the cop is hearing is yes, sir, and no, sir. Even though the citizen feel like, he's going through my pockets, he's grabbing my dick, he's searching my car, he's scaring the hell out of me. But all you're telling the cop is yes, sir, and no, sir. So 20 years from now, the cop is not going to remember abusing you because you didn't make much of a fuss about it. It can happen. Look at in the comments. What if Jean Carroll liked it when it happened, but changed her mind later on? That happens. That does happen. That somebody can be. There was before I go to the next caller, there was a case like that. How many folks remember the Duke lacrosse? I want to say rape case or something like that was called, the Duke lacrosse players. A stripper, she was African-American, went in and did a show for a bunch of these white lacrosse players. totally consensual, 100% down with it, walked out of I don't know if it was a fraternity, whatever the hell they were at. You go into their fraternity house or whatever. She was there voluntarily. She was there, consented to it to make some money or whatever. Went in there and performed, whatever the case may be. A lot of times a single, adult entertainer, female, performing in front of a bunch of guys, they're going to be grabbing and touching on you. I've been to bachelor parties like that. People touch on them. That happens. She walked out of the fraternity or the lacrosse player, wherever she was at performing, and her own girl later testified in court that when she got in the car to leave, she started contemplating how much money she could earn by lying and saying that they assaulted her. And she did. She did, and tried to have some of them, I believe it really hurt some of their careers, and tried to lie and say that these white lacrosse players, she was a black woman, these white lacrosse players had sexually assaulted her. I think at the time, Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton or something, they started piling on. They started piling on, going after these players. And eventually the truth came out that she was doing it to earn money. I don't know if you guys, the case is probably 20 years plus, but some of you guys may remember it. Anyhow, look it in the comments. If you look it up, 95 cases of all 100, 95 cases of all 100 testify are actually guilty of the crime they committed. Andy, I don't quite get what you're saying. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't quite get what that means. I always suspect with black people, get up there, they always defend anybody except our people. I always suspect with black people, get up there, huh? They always defend anybody but our people. I'm clueless. Let me go back to the box. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to about 60,000. I know this is not necessarily the live stream that we normally do. Certainly a lot of you folks do not favor my opinion. When I say free speech, it does include me as well. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comments. You don't have to agree with me. Of course, today is that day where a hell of a lot of you don't. But this is how free speech works. Kenny, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Kenny, good afternoon. Hey.
Well, good afternoon. Hey, real quick before we get into it. So, the last caller was saying, like, you can put a lien on this and this and that. I personally know someone who installed windows, who had a window installing company out of New Jersey, installed windows. They got this, they bid on the contract, got it, and found out it was for Trump.
Ooh.
And it was under one of his LLCs or, one of his businesses. Well, he did. So the guy was like, all right, we're going to do this excellent job. He went out, bought all nice stuff, did the job and everything. And Trump was like, I don't like it. I'm not paying for it. That guy put all his money into the stock with that one job with Trump and ended up bankrupting himself because Trump refused to pay. And he couldn't fight it because Trump had so many lawyers, it would stay tied up in court for years. So that whole, you can do that on an everyday person, regular person, and put a lien on that stuff. But Trump, he's going to fight it in court and delay until you run out of money. And that guy had to go bankrupt.
Yeah, he had to eat it.
And then if it's someone that Trump, that has the potential to fight Trump, he's going to file bankruptcy. That's the reason why the man filed bankruptcy on all his different companies so many times.
So at the end of the day, you're not going to win no matter what. He's going to delay, and hopefully cost you a bunch of money chasing them. And if you do ultimately win, he's just going to file bankruptcy.
Exactly. And that's how he's been getting away. And that's how he's been keeping his money in his pocket. That's the reason why when he had these cases come against him, it took him a while to find an attorney because nobody wanted to do any work for him. They wanted their money up front.
Yeah. I didn't, me and the last caller was talking about it. I made it clear I didn't agree with what he was saying is that, he was making it sound like that, Trump he's such a respectable character that he wouldn't do this. I'm like, all these rumors ain't floating around for nothing. It's not coming from just the left or the right or one person. There's a lot of rumors coming out there. Even Rudolph Giuliani reportedly was never paid by Trump. If he doesn't like, as you're talking about, if he doesn't like the outcome, he ain't gonna pay you.
Yeah, that's true. He's not. He's not gonna pay you at all. And I honestly believe, like, I agree with you with the whole pulling over the police stop with the football player.
Really?
But
I'm surprised.
I agree with you only because of our skin color. We have to shut up and just take the orders. But you got to think of a guy who's a football status. Because I've seen videos of a white guy get pulled over and not roll his window halfway down, hand the cops his stuff, say, "Give me my ticket," and drive off.
Yeah, a lot of those DUI checkpoints and immigration checkpoints, people will audit the police and pull up to them all the time, doing exactly what Tyreek Hills did, or Tyreek Hill, yeah. What he did is what you're talking about, where they'll crack the window and the cop is begging for him to let it all the way down. But in Tyreek Hill's case, because he had really dark tints, I think that adds a second element to it. And when they pull up to these checkpoints and refuse to let the window down,
everyone in Florida does.
Tints like that.
Yeah,
is that
Florida? They're allowed to have tint as dark as you want to. They didn't write. They wasn't pulling him over because of his tint. They was pulling him over because he was speeding.
So you're saying in Florida, and I'm going to admit ignorance on this because I don't know, but you're saying in Florida, they legally allow you to have tints as dark as you want?
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know people that live in Florida, and when I go to visit Florida in the neighborhoods I go into and different areas, their tint is just as dark as that on regular everyday cars. Most of them have prescriptions for it, or they have, whatever excuse for it. But I'm sure like Florida is one of the states where it can be pretty dark, because I know Texas is the same way, kind of.
But here's the problem. I get the tints need to be dark to keep the car cool in that hot weather, but there's a difference between the back seats, like in a limo or somebody sitting in the back seat of your car. But regardless of the sun, at night you got to be able to see. If your tints are that dark, now we're talking about the driver passenger window. You pull up to an intersection and you need to look to the left at night. I don't see how you would be able to see out of that.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm not negating that at all, but I agree with you that Tyreek Hill was a little bit out of line. I mean, because of the way, but also I think it was two wrongs on that end.
There you go.
The cop could have de-escalated that easily, gave the man his ticket and gave him the sense on about his business, or they didn't have to keep it became a pissing match at that point.
Yeah.
And the cops was determined to show him that they were going to win regardless of what he had to say. And it was already, his car already is more than what their salary are. So they already got a chip on their shoulder right there.
I agree with that. I see that whole situation as there were no good guys in that situation. I see it the same way.
Yeah, but the cops were supposed to be the ones to de-escalate that situation and just but they insisted he lower his window down, which, I mean, I get it. He did make some comments, but you can roll your window back up just to, or he could even have to be so rude with them. But most rich people that are arrogant, sometimes they're rude. And I'm sure that's not the first time a cop ever dealt with someone being rude like that. So they should have better de-escalation skills.
I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, as I stated in one of the videos I did on this topic, non-compliance has consequences. If you let rich people, give you their attitude, then you're guaranteed that when you deal with rich people, you're gonna get attitude. I mean, if he had no consequences for how he was acting, what do you think he's gonna do next time he get pulled over? I mean, they said he was doing at least, I heard he was doing an insane amount of speeding, but at least 20 miles an hour over the limit. Okay, right. They pulled you over. If you comply, you'll be back to the game quicker than acting like he was acting.
Yeah, but like you said, I don't we don't know what type of people we hang around. You might hang around rich white guys that do speeding and they get pulled over and they do the same thing. Or his attorney might be some rich Jewish guy that's like, hey, this is all I do is don't roll your window all the way down, roll it back up. give them what they needed, tell them you need to get on.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much admitted, he didn't admit guilt. He just said, give me my ticket. And I'll go on about, he said more than that. But I think the cops were just.
Well, let me say this as well, because I see in the comments, Andy made a point. She says 20 miles an hour and over is reckless endangerment. Keep in mind, if he was, because they said he was in a 40, doing 60. Somebody said he was doing over 100 miles an hour or something ridiculous. But let's say he's doing 60 in a 40. Even in that case, once they get you on reckless, they can ask you to get out of the car. I mean, I think on reckless, they can actually arrest you. So,
yeah, they can.
Yeah, so just fucking comply. I mean, that's all he had to do.
That's all he had to do was comply. He was already in the wrong. I mean, I get it. Well, I grew up on the west side of Chicago. I grew up where the cops used to just beat your ass because you was walking down the street and you looked a certain way, or
that's really bad.
Or they had a bunch of cops that, like, as a teenager, they just harassed you. They handled you rough. You said anything back to them, or you said ouch, they were beating your ass. Yeah. So I know how to deal with cops. I know how to tell my kids how to deal with cops. That's not how I would deal with cops. I was actually on the side of a road in Kentucky. I got pulled over. This cop got on the side of me, got in front of me, and like pulled over to the shoulder real quick to make me swerve, and then pulled me over and asked me why I swerved. Now, at that point, if I would have acted a fool, I'm in Kentucky, a black guy and a white cop on the side of a road in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't have made it home that day.
Wow.
But the question that he asked me was, have you ever been convicted of drugs? How is that a question you ask on a traffic stop?
Yeah. And that's why asking questions like that are insulting people, that's why I'm not a fan of when Trump promised to give police immunity and bring back stop and frisk. The stop and frisk, those type of questions, where the drugs at, where the weed at, that type of shit happens. And it's up to you then, the citizen, to hear them insulting you like that and maintain a cool, calm, and collective personality. Now, while I am preaching the benefits of complying, I would totally understand somebody losing their shit when the cops are asking them, like me, for instance. I've never even had a beer or a wine cooler in my life. I've never tried cigarettes. I've never tried marijuana, any of that. To get pulled over by a cop, where the weed at? I know you got some weed in this car. It would be insulting. It would be insulting.
That was the thing. The first thing he said, he said, I smell weed in your car. I said, sir, I don't even smoke at all. So there's no weed. And then he asked me, do you have large amounts of cash in your car? What is a large amount of cash? Because what might be a large amount to you might not be a large amount to me. So What is a large amount? And he thought I was getting smart, but I was seriously asking the question, like, what is a large amount?
Yeah, that's
so, like, if I would have had, like, say if I would have had 15,000 to want to buy a car, they could have said, hey, we got suspicion, this is drug trafficking. We're going to confiscate this money. So at that point, how do you answer that question?
Yeah. And as a result, that's why a lot of particularly large liberal cities have reduced police interaction with the citizens, because it does increase the chances of stuff like this happening. Now, in regards to Tyreek Hill, if he's doing 20 over the limit, you got to pull him over. But stopping, frisking, that kind of shit, yeah, it increases the likelihood of a bad outcome. If you don't have to deal with people, if you don't have to pull somebody over, or you don't have to question them, don't do it. Because, like I said, not only does it increase the chances of hurting the image of police with the public, there are a lot of folks that are hardcore criminals that may be willing to harm a cop, but would just let it go if the cop don't interact with them. I mean, like, you didn't have to pull this dude over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and then they don't necessarily need to. If they running if he gave his information up willingly, and he was just being a butthole, that could have been the news topic right there. Tyreek Hill was a butthole to the police if they would have de-escalated it the right way.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't have been what it was right now. But he also didn't have to be that way. So now his ignorance of acting the way he acts overshadowed the whole traffic stop. Like, no one even cares what they even stop him for now.
There's a video out there. Before I move it on from you, there's a video. I don't know if you've seen this video, but it's on YouTube. Many of you folks probably have, where the police pull a guy over. I think he's in like a RAV4 or some kind of small SUV, and he's cussing out the cop. and the cop is really professional and calm, and the guy is still going off, and the cop keeps saying, well, now you got to go to court on this day, and he's really peaceful with him, and then the cop gives him the ticket, he throws the ticket out, and there's pieces of, and the cop goes, well, now I'm going to have to write you a ticket for littering, and the guy is going ballistic. The cop is being calm as hell about it, and it's delaying the stop, which is why I'm saying that in Tyreek Hill's case, if he's acting an asshole, you don't have to yank him out of the car and be mean to him. Just delay. If he's made it clear he needs to hurry up and get to a game and he's trying to rush you, just delay his traffic stop. If he's acting like a fool, take your time running his name. You ain't breaking no laws. Drag that shit out. Because he's acting.
Like, if he didn't want to let his window down, or if he let his window up, all right, you don't want to let your window down, cool. Yeah. You're gonna wait here until I delay you as long as possible.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah, if you don't let the window down, I don't know if I can trust you, so I'm gonna have to have you wait until I can call for backup. We may need a dog. How much time you got? I heard you got a game coming up. I mean, just delay it. If you don't want to act right, I'm not going to do anything against you, but I'm going to do things I have the right to do. You have a right to be an asshole. The things I'm doing now do not violate your rights. I have a right to do this stuff. Either comply, or these are the kind of things that can happen.
Now, Tyreek Hill, what I believe, because he was on the phone, so I believe he was trying to call either his attorney or his agent or whoever he was trying to call. He was trying to get what he should have been said was, I'm rolling my window up because I want privacy. I'm calling my attorney or such and such.
That can get you killed. By the way, that can get you killed. When you're dealing with the police reaching for the phone to make a phone call, people have died doing that.
They have. Our kind have died. It's more of us that have died than the actual other race.
No disagreement there.
I mean, because I've seen traffic stops where the guy reached for his phone, and I don't reach for anything. Like, I get my stuff and I sit right there and I don't even move. Yeah. Like, I'm frozen until they tell me. If they walk up on me and I don't have my license insurance, I'm like, hey, I got to go in my back pocket. Hey, I got to go in my glove box. Is that okay? And they give me the permission. But a lot of other races, they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Well, the one race don't have to do that.
Fair enough. All right, I got to move it on. Appreciate it, Kenny. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and in the comments, I see someone stating that you can't call for a dog on a traffic stop. What is it? You can't request a dog to show up for a traffic stop. The hell you can. If you can come up with an excuse for why you think there may be narcotics in the car, I don't know if I feel confident about that one. You can tell me they can't request a canine to show up. I wouldn't want to bet the farm on that one. I see in the comments, Andy says yes you can. Yeah, I believe you can too. If they come up with a legitimate sounding, because it ain't legitimate, but if they come up with a legitimate sounding reason for why they need a canine, you gonna sit there until that canine gets there. So all I'm saying is, if you don't comply, the police do not have a right necessarily to treat you how they may have treated Tyreek Hill, but they do have weapons in their arsenal, such as I stated, delaying your ass, holding you there for a while. I mean, how long does it take to run a background check? It can take a half hour if they treat it right. I mean, all of this can come into play. Just comply. Just comply. That's all I'm saying. And, at the end of the day, I don't see the cops. We must have someone watching the program that is hateful. Certainly to my last guest. Kenny didn't say anything wrong, but I'm getting all these notices or whatever. I don't know what. There's a few haters out there. I even have my windshield tinted. Bobby, you can get away with that? Your windshield is tinted? Is that safe? Your windshield? Wow. I have seen First Amendment auditors let their car windows down just enough to give their licenses. I have too, April 79. I have too. But as I stated before, defending your constitutional rights in court is different than defending them on the side of the highway. In court, you're likely to get a lot more leeway to defend your rights than you're on the side of it. Because in court, the judge is more likely to know how your rights work than a cop. Cops fail. I would tend to think that some cops know less about the Constitution than the average citizen. How many folks are open carrying and they get accosted by cops all the time in states where it's legally allowed to open carry. Do not depend or even expect a cop on the side of the road to know and adhere to all of your constitutional rights. That's all I'm saying. And if you do, and you try to invoke your privileges, it could have a bad outcome. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying the cops ain't wrong for doing it. I'm just telling you, you got one or two choices. You want your constitutional rights, or you want to go home. You may not be able to get both. Looking in the comments, cops will say, tell it to the judge. And that happens all the time too, Andy. That is fancy. Looking in the comments, what about a cop? What about a cop PP a kid? We do have pressure on us when we are stopped. What about a cop PP a kid? I don't understand that, Big Mikey. What about a cop PP a kid? We do have pressures on us when we are stopped. That doesn't make sense to me. Going back to the box, cops could have just gave a ticket. Yes. Just like he could have just complied. Yes. No party. Either one of the parties, in my opinion, both parties were wrong. Both parties did nothing to de-escalate that situation. Both of them could have. When he started acting like an asshole, the cops could have, as you said, just gave him a ticket. But he didn't have to act like an asshole. Both parties did nothing to de-escalate that situation. Going back to the box. I don't know what I'm looking at there, but we'll keep it moving with Andy. Good afternoon. Andy, you're saying 20 miles an hour or over, the cops can't arrest you.
Well, in Alabama, that's true. I went and looked. It's 50 in Florida is gross. Excessive. 50? 10 miles away from. Hold on. But they have a special caveat. They can determine anything that is excessive underneath 50.
Okay.
Because it's not written out like Alabama's. 50 is grossly excessive. They get determined anything under that is excessive. Okay. I've been to jail in Florida. It ain't fun.
What did you go to jail for?
After a weekend of spring break, they picked me up driving down the highway.
Oh, my God.
I did not get a DUI because I wasn't, drunk, but I did get arrested for speeding and having a mouthy mouth on me and had to pay a fine.
Oh, so you started talking shit.
Yep, and got my ass in trouble. I was 18. I didn't know shit.
They put a white 18-year-old girl in jail? Damn, ain't no love for a brother.
Shit, spring break is a problem to them. This was during the MTV time when we were having Daytona spring break, and they threw the spring break kids out of Daytona and kept the bikers. Remember that for MTV? During those days.
Damn. So we
were all going to jail.
So all you were doing was speeding and talking shit.
Yeah, but I was right outside Daytona where we'd been like, it wasn't me, but some of the kids during spring break, if you'll go look in the 80s, were throwing like chairs out the window because they thought they were Keith Moon.
Damn, but man, we talking about Tyreek Hill, an 18-year-old white girl just speeding and talking shit and got locked up. Wow, it ain't no love for white people either, huh?
Not in Florida.
Damn.
They made a seed that year. They made one seed a felony.
One marijuana seed.
I don't know if they've changed it since the 80s, but one seed at that time was a felony.
Wow. Well, hopefully.
They were over our shit. They were just tired of us. They wanted the spring break kids. They don't want the spring break kids to come back now, actually. That's why they made all the hotel rooms 25 and up. We're the reason all the hotel rooms in Florida are 25 years old and up.
Well, yeah, you guys come down there and you flood the area. And Chipper, I see you in the comments. You guys come down and you flood the area out, so that may have something to do with that. But yeah, Florida has always been known to be pretty damn tough on crime. But you live in Alabama, ain't they pretty tough too?
No, a seed ain't a felony.
So what about this case with Tyreek Hill? Do you believe he did anything wrong at all?
I think the whole interaction was completely unfortunate, and I do believe the cop could have shown more grace.
Yeah.
I think the cops can always show a little more grace.
But if you're saying they need to show more grace, then you're admitting he's doing something.
Well, I mean, he was 10 miles above to grossly, endangering the speed limit, so the cops can do better and we can do better. We just can't go around, endangering others' lives either.
Yeah. So, and I think you're kind of saying the same thing I'm saying. And I see in the comments, Barbara Neville's or something, Barbara Envilis or something is saying no use, not to use excessive force ripping him out of the car. Well, they told him, let your window down or we're going to pull you out of the car. And he still had pushback. Why not just let the window down? They weren't going to take him out of the car. They just wanted him to raise the window down. And they told him, let the window down or we're going to take you out of the car. And then he started giving more resistance. And then they pulled him out of the car.
Well, Alabama and Florida both have tent laws, too.
To what level?
Florida is 25%.
So it looked like his window was tinted more than 25%.
I'm not sure if it's 25% light has to come in, or they can only tint it 25%. I think it's 25% light comes in. Alabama's just the opposite. You get your windows too dark out here, they're pulling your ass over. Alabama, that's where Alabama and Florida differ. We don't care around here. They will pull your ass over in a heartbeat for tinted windows.
Yeah, well, so, but do you think he has a legitimate case to receive any type of compensation or anything like that based on what you saw?
I don't know.
Yeah. And that says a lot, though.
Laws are a lot more complicated than Alabama's. He was 10 miles to grossly. I mean, when you're almost 15 miles above the speed limit, you're endangering everybody on the road.
But that says a lot, though, that considering how controversial this case is and how people say the cops are wrong and things like that, for me to ask, do you think he has a case in court? And you're like, well, I don't know. That shows that it wasn't as bad as a lot of folks are making it out to be.
No, it just means I don't know Florida's laws as well as I'd like to. Hell, I need to learn before I go back down there because, like I'm saying, they're tired of people.
Yeah, well, and I see somebody in the comments talking about, I just had knee surgery. That I had knee surgery thing is laughable when the dude is on his way to play football. So clearly that knee surgery thing was just some bullshit to get the cops to leave him. You are on your way to play a game where people throw you to the ground for the whole purpose of the game. That's what.
Let me tell you how cops work, though. Here in Alabama, I'll give you an example. I moved into an affluent neighborhood. I had an old beat-up car. It just, the paint came off the Cavaliers differently. The car was still in great shape. Wonderful. Paint was pulling off of it. The neighborhood that I live in, the cops pulled me over till I was 1 point away from having my license revoked.
Damn.
I bought a new BMW. I do 75 miles an hour down the parkway. They don't even look at me.
Are you like, do you talk shit? You sound like you come across.
I used to be a bartender. Of course I talk shit to cops.
Oh my God. You really pushing that privilege thing to the limit, ain't you?
No, I'm not letting them have any privilege of their own. Fuck that. No. They have rules. They have to abide by said rules.
So let me ask you this question. As a white woman, do you believe a black woman could do what you're saying you do with the same results?
But also, I talk shit to the cops in the bar where I work.
But
you know what I'm saying?
But you're admitting that
I talk shit to the cops when they had pulled me over, but not like ugly, like been in their business. Like, who is your boss? What exactly am I being pulled over? Like, I have a checklist of things that are within the law to say. Okay. But no, I think that my privilege buys me a lot. I do.
Okay. You are. So yeah, but you are.
I also live in a neighborhood where the cops are not the same color as me either.
Ooh, what color are they?
They're black. Most of the downtown police force are black.
Oh, okay. I see. You got invited to the cookout by Adrian in the comments. Says she is invited to the cookout. All right, I get it. So wow, that's crazy. I didn't think you were like that, Andy.
What do you mean? I don't give a shit. Look, these cops can kiss my ass.
What are you, Della Reese now? Okay, so...
No, I'm just tired of bullshit. I am tired of people who have a little bit of power. Like Alabama's cops got in trouble for the same shit, and the cops are the same color as the damn guy. If they put that badge on them, and their head goes...
Yeah. I don't... You get no argument from me. There are plenty of cops that are power tripping and things like that, but as I've said to several callers before...
Now, at one of the schools close to me is in trouble for texting a little girl.
So what about the notion that 99% of them are good? It's just a few bad apples?
Bullshit. That is bullshit.
All right. I don't think you and I are going to push back too much. I got to move it on in, Andy. Thank you for
But
coming
I
through.
I wanted to say something about what you said earlier. 95% of the women who actually put in a case are actually telling the truth.
Okay, you're talking about sexual assault.
That.
You're talking about sexual assaults.
Yep, there's statistics on that. And them saying Donald Trump is going to get away with defaming E. Jean Carroll? No, he's not.
I don't think so.
He defamed her again recently. Like 2 days ago, after a damn during a press conference, he defamed her and 2 other women.
No, I don't think. I think that.
He get another case.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to get away. I think he may be able to get the money, the award lowered because it is insanely high. But I don't think he's going to be.
He's defamed her again. He won't.
Depends on the judge. I mean, with that Supreme Court, it depends on the judge.
Well, I mean, she has another case, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's already sued him once, sued him again. There's another case for what he did while he was already in court. Now she can sue him a 3rd time. He needs to shut the fuck up. It'd be good for his pocketbook.
Yeah, the whole argument about you won't have that much drama if you just comply seems to go out of the window when it comes to Trump. A lot of the folks that would tell you you need to comply and you won't have all this drama, they back Trump, and Trump is not. A lot of Trump's drama is coming exactly from that. He's not complying. All right, Andy. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Anytime. All right, moving on with the program. I do want to bring up a guest that I saw in the comment section. But yeah, that's what Trump is doing with the E. Jean Carroll case. I don't think most voters give a damn about E. Jean Carroll. And if he would realize that, that could have went away a long time ago. He is the one that keeps talking about that over and over again. He don't have to do that. I mean, Trump likes to get in fights. I mean, this one is costing him $80 million so far. Chipper, good afternoon.
Up, buddy?
Hey, you've been in the comments.
Yeah. So I just wanted to speak on the Tyreek situation and put yourself in the cops for. Let's say me and you are partners. Mm-hmm. We're police officers and we're partners.
Mm-hmm.
We're in that same situation. We pull an individual over, regardless of their race, all that. We pull an individual over. We come up to the window. He hands his license out to us, rolls his window back up, and it is so tinted out that you can't see what's going on inside of the car. Me and you are partners. Would you feel uncomfortable in that situation? Like, do you think that he could be reaching for a gun? Do you think?
Well, let me respond. I'll tell you this: if safety is a concern, diving into the car and yanking him out, because if Tyreek Hill had a knife or something on the passenger seat, he could have cut that officer to pieces. If you're concerned about your safety, what that officer did is the last thing you do. In my opinion, what if you want the windows up or whatever the case, because he had that butterfly type door or whatever the door go, hold the damn door up. That's it. Once the door is, you don't need to really yank him out of the car. I mean, you just want to be able to see inside. Once the door, because the police opened the door, I think he popped it maybe from the inside and then they yanked it up. Once it's up, hold it up and continue the traffic stop. I don't really think that yanking him out of the car was necessary. That was...
No, I don't either.
Yeah, that's the defender ego.
But when he rolled the window up and it's tinted so dark that you can't see in it, he could have been reaching for a firearm. He could have been... I mean, and me and you know that Tyreek Hill wasn't, but that's just because, you know.
Yeah, but you got to use a little bit of logic, Chipper. I mean, there's a lot of folks that try to take the lives of cops and things like that. They don't usually do it out of Ferraris. That don't fit. If you want to profile somebody, this is not the profile of somebody that's going to try to take your life. How many cops have been shot from $400,000 cars or whatever the hell that car costs? He don't fit the profile for that.
No, but at the time, they didn't even realize that it was Tyreek.
Doesn't matter. You realize the car he's in. I mean, like, this doesn't fit the profile of somebody that's going to try to take your life. I'm just simply saying, unless, like somebody said in the comments, if it's stolen or something like that. But I don't know. The whole idea of taking it all the way to the point where this person may be trying to kill me, then take cover and stay off of the car and get on the megaphone or whatever and tell them to get the hell out of the car.
That's what I was saying. They could have handled it a lot worse than they did, because once that window's up and you can't see in that car, and there's fear.
Let me flip it and ask it to you this way. And folks in the audience, I want you to answer this one by way of yes or no, because I think this is a pretty interesting question. Will G says, I bet if they pulled Tom Brady over and did the same thing, the cops would have saluted him off on his way. Do you think this interaction, let's say Tom Brady acted exactly like Tyreek Hill did, do you think there would be a different outcome?
I think that there shouldn't have been.
That ain't what I asked
you.
Yeah.
Probably so, because everybody knows him. And, I mean, he would have been noticed as Tom Brady right away. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been a, who is this guy?
I think, though, one of the cops did call him by name. I think that there were, because there were like 3 or 4 cops on the scene. I think one of them did realize who he was.
Yeah, and it was after the fact that he had rolled his window up. That's what I'm saying. That exact moment right there was kind of scary to me.
But hold on. When the cops pull you over, particularly if you're doing 20 above the limit, when you pull over, they got the lights flashing, they're in your car punching in your plates. When they walk up to you, they already know who's supposed to be in that car. So they when they punched in his information, because you don't just spring out, he's pulled over, the cops pull you over, and there's usually some time before the cop gets out and walks up to your They're running your plate. They know this is Tyreek Hill. It's going to come back. So,
usually they have time for all of that, but I mean, did they specify that they had time to? Because the way I was looking at it is they really didn't know who it was at that particular time when he rolled the window up.
Well, maybe. But like I said, at the same time, if Tyreek Hill had just been a personable individual, none of this stuff would ever happen. I mean, the way he was, I mean, why are you fighting to keep the window up?
I just don't think that, I mean, especially if your windows are tinted, you're blocking the view of the police officer at that point, and he don't know what you're doing in that car.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in their shoes to see what they were thinking at that point, and I could see them being a little fearful when the window.
I don't think it had anything to do with fear. They were dealing with an asshole, and they figured they would treat an asshole with asshole behavior. I don't think anybody was in fear for it. I mean, you got cops standing around. If they felt like their life was in danger, they would have taken positions. You can look at how they're standing and tell nobody is fearful of their life. And certainly when he's already in handcuffs and they ask him to sit down when he's talking about, I had surgery on my leg, and the way that cop takes him down.
Yeah, now that was all bull crap. I mean,
yeah, they were treating what they thought was an asshole with asshole behavior. That's really what that was. They were trying to, what they used to say in the old days, tune them up. That's what they kind of were doing.
Yeah, but just that one particular moment when he rolled the window up was my only thing. It was like, you're kind of, it's a gray area there, because if your windows are tinted, I don't feel like you should be able to roll your window up. If you have no tint on your windows and the cops can have a visual on you, I don't see a problem with rolling your window up. So that's a gray area right there that they should probably touch back on and say, when you're pulled over, you need to leave your window down.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a gray area. To me, if the cops are telling you to do something and you're coming up with reasons not to do it, in my opinion, that right there is not a gray area. You could have a bad outcome, even if you legally have a right to resist. They're telling you to let your window down, and you're not doing. Then they open up the door and tell him to get out of the car, and he was resisting that. Then when they were trying to tell him to sit down, when he was saying his leg, he was resisting that. I mean, he was not complying.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, that was at that point. I think they was using a little bit too much force. But
yeah.
Like I said, when the window was up, I can see having a doubt in your mind. What's this guy doing inside of this car? I mean, Let's take away that it's Tyreek Hill, and just a regular judge.
Well,
either way.
In regards to what you're saying about it being Tyreek Hill, Sid on YouTube says it exactly the same. He says the only mistakes the cops made was not knowing they were dealing with the number one member of the Assholes Club, Tyreek. So, I mean, he could have acted. I mean, in my opinion, what they did to him was wrong, but it would not have taken place if he had just complied with the interaction.
Agreed. And the biggest part of it is rolling your window up when it is limo tinted down. I mean, you can't see nothing.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Chipper, appreciate you coming through. First time talking?
I think we talked a while back.
All right, well, let's hopefully this ain't the next time we talk about some shit like this, but thank you for coming through.
Right?
Yeah. Good talk.
Right, have a good one, man.
You too. It's been a pleasure. Looking in the comments, go write the ticket, says Jay Renzo. Yeah, isn't that kind of what he said? Go give me my ticket. I mean, he was being pretty damn dismissive. That's not to say he doesn't have the right to be dismissive of authority. But that's kind of what he was doing. He was really acting like a Karen. It's a 20 mile per hour over the limit. If they can get him for reckless driving or whatever, like I said, I've asked many callers this already. Would you advise your child, wife, daughter, aunt, cousin, would you advise them to act this way like Tyreek Hill did? Or if you had a family member act the way he did and kind of get what he got, would it really surprise you that much? Looking in all these people here crying over this millionaire. Alter Ego, appreciate your support. Normally I agree with you. I'm just telling you this reason. Because you say all these people here crying over this millionaire. I don't really think they're crying over the millionaire. They're crying because they know if it was them, the cops would have got away with it. And Tyreek Hill says that too. If I didn't have his platform, it could have been worse. I do believe that, which is why I don't favor doing what he did. But if that had not been Tyreek Hill and it was my black ass, you wouldn't see a few lives for a while. I might not be on for a few weeks. I might come back on telling you I've been somewhere, which is why I haven't been on live. You don't act like what he acted like and expect a decent outcome. That's my opinion. For sure, but you wouldn't do that dumb shit, says Artigo. Yeah, that is true. I would not do that. And even if I was rich, I wouldn't do that. Why delay the stay? If anything, I don't want the ticket. So I'm going to be apologetic. Sir, I didn't realize I was doing so fast. I just got this car. Apparently, it's got a lot more horsepower than I thought. Here, you want to try it out? Whatever I got to do to get out of that ticket. Now, some would say, well, you're being a pussy. I get it. But I don't want to go out like that. It ain't necessary. Let me get to my game, make my millions, and be on my way. I'm never going to see these cops again. I've been warned to let go 20 miles over the limit of 60 miles per hour. The California Highway Patrol was pretty damn nice as I waited in the ER for 8 hours and telling him the truth. I just wanted to get home and go to sleep. Like I said, flies, you can get more flies with honey than vinegar. Being a little bit more kinder would have probably ended that. In the comments, no, it's called Sambo, but I get it. In other words, being submissive or being cooperative, sell out, Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckus, in this case, he's saying a Sambo. All right. You can put that on a headstone. Here lies the handsome liberal. Gone too soon, but he was no Sambo. All right. Are you still going to say we should comply with anything once they get immunity? You got to vote to prevent that from happening. I don't care. Look, and by the way, Alter Ego, thank you for the galaxy. Appreciate it. I'll go back to the box. Tap the screen, by the way. See if we can get up to about 70,000 likes. That might be a bit much to ask with this audience, with this topic. A lot of folks are pissed off. Tap the screen. See if we can get the likes up to about 70,000. I would appreciate you folks showing the program some love. Same on YouTube. Smash that like button. By the way, if you do enjoy this type of dialogue, all sides of the aisle, nobody's getting blocked, banned, or censored. Follow the program on TikTok. a subscription on YouTube, if you will. I see in the comments, I can't, what does that say? Is Bed Wars Pro or something that says Trump 2024. Tonight is the Super Bowl for debates. Who you think going to get the better hand? What are they saying? The prosecutor versus the felon? Now, Trump got 6 prior presidential debates under his on his record, on his resume. Kamala Harris, she did really good against Kamala Harris, by the way. She told Mike Pence, "I'm speaking," showed up Mike Pence and made Joe Biden look like a racist. So even though Trump has far more experience at presidential debates, Kamala Harris is a former attorney, years of that under her belt as attorney general, as district attorney. She was the attorney general of California, and she was a senator. So she's had debates, just not at this level. We'll see how it goes. Real quick, looking in the comments, that man got yapping experience. So Trump doesn't have debate experience. He has yapping experience. Well, he's won a presidential election with it, so we'll see. Going back to the box, Michael, the boss. Good afternoon, Michael. Welcome to the program. Yeah, but I see how great Cali is doing, says Petty. Well, I don't know if Kamala Harris, being a senator of California for only 4 years, makes her responsible for how California looks. Michael, good afternoon.
What's going on, Tim? How you doing, man?
I'm in the trenches today. People don't like me, man.
I'm listening there. They got your ass on the run today.
Yes.
Listen, the whole Tyreek thing is, and I think I told you this before, I grew up in a family of law enforcement. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the officer's job, you're supposed to be trained to handle that. You don't have to like it. But if you notice, the officer said, initially he said, just give me a license or I'll yank you out the car. Matter of fact, just get on out the car.
Okay.
Right? And then the other officer came up next to him. You can see the attitude from the beginning. And 2 things happened after that. They suspended him and they put him on paid administrative leave immediately.
Paid administrative leave is just a vacation. Shit, I want that.
I agree. But when's the last time you've seen it happen so fast in an incident like this?
Well, wait. Do you think he would have been on? Do you think this would have happened that quick if it wasn't Tyreek Hill?
Absolutely not. That's my point. That's my point.
Yeah.
So but then the officer said, "You know who that is, right?" Did you hear the officer when he said, "You know who that is"?
Well, yeah, because the officer. Yeah, I heard that part.
And the officer said, "Who?" He said, "That's the Miami Dolphin or Tyreek Hill." So they already knew. And what the police department did, they were covering their own ass. They wanted to make sure that they showed that they were doing something right away. To your point, that doesn't happen if it's not Tyreek Hill. He doesn't get on administrative leave or none of that. I don't believe that happens at all.
Yeah. Do you think Tyreek, now we can talk about the cops overdoing it. I don't think there's any argument there, but do you think Tyreek Hill handled this well?
I wouldn't advise my son to handle it that way.
Same.
Because of the climate, but it's so funny. We have to say that, right? So when people want to say that racism doesn't exist or these things don't exist, we direct our black children or our children not to act that way because we know that can happen.
Well, not only can it happen,
my son to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise my son to do it either. But not only can it happen, even though folks suggest that white people ain't going through this compared to blacks, I don't even know if I was white if I would advise my son. Even if I was a wealthy white guy, I wouldn't advise my child to do what Tyreek Hill did. I mean, you might get pulled over by a black cop that has a chip on his shoulder that you got a lot more money than him. To me, you're rolling the dice acting like that.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is if you're pulling him over for a speeding ticket, where's all the hostility? Why are you so hostile? It's a speeding ticket. Why does he have to roll? If you're not suspecting him of anything else, just speeding, where's your probable cause to do anything else? Because he raised his voice. I'm not saying I agree with how he acted, but where's his probable cause to escalate?
Well, you don't have probable cause to escalate. But that is where it's coming from, is how he's acting like that. If like you said in the beginning of the conversation, the cops should be trained to deal with assholes. But we know that if you're an asshole, cops often escalate. So I'm not saying the cop is right. I'm saying that is the root cause of it, though, is Tyreek Hill was acting like an asshole.
And he's in a very nice. One of your other people in the box earlier. He's in a nice car, probably more than an officer makes in a year. That's gonna piss him off. Roll down the window. See this young. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah,
I've seen it
I
firsthand.
can tell you this too. Sometimes the cops, whether it's profiling or whatever the case may be, sometimes the cops are judgmental before you even say a word. Like when I lived on the south side of Chicago, I remember going to meet this chick on the west side. I'm sitting out in front of her house and I'm watching open air drug dealing taking place right across the street. And it was white people coming on the west side to buy drugs to go back to the suburbs. And the cops pulled this white girl over, and I'm hearing the conversation because I'm in the car across the street with the window. He was saying all kinds of negative, derogatory shit. He was a black cop. He's a black cop because he'd already judged her as a druggie. So now she was very compliant, by the way. She didn't push back. But sometimes when you're dealing with cops, like you mentioned, if a cop thinks you got more money than he's making, or you're a rapper and you don't deserve to be a millionaire off of rap music, a lot of times they just have a preconceived notion of who you are and may not like you. And if you act like Tyreek Hill, it ain't gonna go well.
It's not gonna go well. And to your point earlier, we don't have community officers anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have community officers. People don't know the officers in there. Officers don't. And do they? Maybe the rules have changed. I don't know. Do they get out? I don't see them get out the car and even engage with the community anymore. Yeah. Not very often. I don't. So, and that's not to say all officers are bad, but I honestly believe that officers need to police officers.
Yeah, I think I read a one of my friends wrote a paper on that back when I was in school about getting the police, improving police relations. And you talked about community policing. That, in addition to having more people from the community policing the community, so in a black neighborhood, should be more black cops. But I also agree with you talking about in terms of community policing, because when you had community policing, you had cops walking the beat, maybe riding bikes or on horse, whatever the hell they used to do. And that led to citizens interacting with police in manners that were not always negative. If you're out watering your lawn or something and the cop comes walking by, hey, how you doing, Mr. Officer Smith? And you guys talk for a few minutes. When you don't have community policing, what happens is the only interaction people have with police is when it's bad. So I really think that, take the police out of cars and let them walk a beat a little bit.
Absolutely. When I was growing, I'm in California. I grew up in Oakland, California. In our neighborhood, we knew the couple of police that would be in our area, and they knew our parents, right?
Yep.
But you didn't know. You didn't know until they said, I'm going to tell such and such, or tell such and such. I said hello. But there was more communities then than there are now. But I will say this though about the police, and I've always felt like this. Their expectation of the community, they have to have the same expectation of themselves. What I mean by that is that policing. If there's a police officer that's not doing the right thing, they have their own own fraternity, just like gangs, right? Right? They'll get a gang member in that interrogation room and ask them to tell everything.
Yeah, I was having Yeah, that reminds me of I used to call in the Fox News back in the early 2000s so much. I ended up being invited out there, but I used to debate with John Gibson, Bill O'Reilly too, but Tom Sullivan, and Tom Sullivan used to be on Fox News Radio, and he was a former state trooper. And me and him were having that conversation, what you're talking about right now, and he was talking about how it's difficult to reduce crime in the hood because blacks don't like to snitch on each other. And he was like, if maybe you guys would tell on other drugs. And I brought up exactly what you said. I said, how the hell can you expect us to snitch on folks when you guys don't do it? You don't snitch on corrupt cops. You circle the wagons and protect them the same way drug dealers do. I said, you're doing the same thing that you're admitting is problematic. He conceded the point.
Absolutely. And until we get to that route, and you know, to that point, and that's not all cops. Because during the riots and the protests, there were some officers that walked with the protesters. You know, several times during the riots and the George Floyd protests, there were some officers. I know there were several that that were showing on TV. Some white officers that were like, "I agree with you," and they walked with them.
Yeah, I went to a Black Lives Matter protest where the chief of police did that. Actually took a knee and promised that he was going to work on banning chokeholds. This was about 2020, the year in 2020 when all this stuff was real. It was during that year, and they did that. Yeah, the cop took a knee and then he walked several blocks with the protesters. Yeah, that did happen a lot. So all cops do not turn a blind eye to what happens. There are plenty of black cops and some white cops that do admit the way we're policing is not necessarily fair. There are some others who would tell you, look, ain't no problem at all. All you got to do is just comply. But there are other cops who will tell you, yeah, there's some people getting treated differently. They will come out and admit it.
You're absolutely right. I was reading your comments and they were like, I saw some people that said they got fired and check on their job status now. But I'm gonna tell you, and to those comments, I'll say this. To those comments, I'll say this. They may have gotten fired or lost their jobs or what have you, but as a man and as a human being, as a person, they still have their integrity. Yeah. Because when they leave this earth, they ain't going to take their job with them anyway. Yeah, but the one thing that they were going to have is their integrity, character, and a level of ethics that I'll ride with that person any day.
Fair enough.
Because
I got to move it on, but at the end of the day, you can't pay your rent with integrity, though. So do you want to point that out?
Be an asshole to either, but I hear you. All right, Tim.
Good talk. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving the program on. What happened to de-escalation? I don't know if we ever had that, Kevin. I don't know if we've ever had a police department that focused on de-escalation. I think a lot. Now I'm here speaking about Tyreek Hill and why, he encountered what happened in the power of de-escalation. But absolutely, if the police focus more on de-escalation than the us against them mentality, a lot of this stuff wouldn't happen. And now, at the end of the day, if this person is of no danger to you, write them a ticket and let them go. Even if they're talking shit, write them a ticket and let them go. Sometimes you got to swallow your ego. But the issue I think that would happen, if we held police to a standard of 100% accountability, which I'm in favor of it, but I think if you'd done that, you would have more citizens trying to push back. If citizens, because right now you have a First Amendment free speech right to cuss at cops and things like that. I mean, that's legal in most states. If the citizens knew that the police would be held to a 100% level of accountability, I think you'd have more citizens pushing the envelope. I don't know if that makes it any better. I mean, right now, even though you have free speech rights, a lot of citizens know if I talk shit to a cop, they're going to come up with a reason to fuck with me. If the citizens knew without a shadow of a doubt that they could do that and the cops were going to be watched and they couldn't get away with it, I think more citizens would talk shit to cops. I think that the citizens would push the envelope and make policing even harder. Maybe I'm wrong. Looking in the comments, he needs to sue their asses off and get the first guy fired for sure. I don't know. And I'll tell you why. If it's me, yeah, I'm going to sue, but I wouldn't have acted like Tyreek Hill. But if I'm Tyreek Hill, I don't know if I sue for this reason. Remember the whole Colin Kaepernick taking the knee thing? That cost the NFL a lot of money. There's a large contingent on the Caucasian side of the aisle, for a lack of a better term, that don't like this shit. You can call them whatever you want. If you want to say they're racist, intolerant, bigoted, whatever. But Colin Kaepernick ultimately cost the NFL a lot of money. If Tyreek Hill does this with the police force, it's going to probably hurt the NFL in some way, fashion, or form. I mean, maybe the cops in that area decide they don't want to provide security for the games. That has happened. Remember Beyonce, her Super Bowl performance, where during the performance she stood on top of a cop car in kind of like a pseudo protest about police abuse. For a time, the police were refusing to provide security at her concerts. So I don't think the NFL, and I see in the comments somebody is even stating that, RG fan, something like, you're saying it. Yeah, I don't think the NFL would want him to sue the police. I think they would get to him and make an offer he can't refuse. I mean, at the end of the day, consider how much money he's worth. It ain't like the money's going to make a difference anyway. How about this? You know, the agent sits him down. Maybe a representative of the NFL sits across the table from Tyreek. How about this? We'll get him to publicly issue an apology, and we'll go from there. But I'm just want to let you know, if you decide to sue, this could have a negative outcome on your career. I'm not going to make any statements. I'm not going to guarantee that might happen, or I'm just telling you, this may or may not be in your best interest if you pursue this. I mean, it could harm your fan base. It could cause a lot of division in the league, all of that. And at the end of the day, any monies you may get from this ain't going to mean a damn thing to you anyway. How about a public apology? Would you be okay with that? And I think that they could make an offer to him and he would back off of it. Look at in the comments, Donald J. Trump should have picked Ben Carson or RFK for vice president. I don't think it would make much of a difference. I'll go back to the box. Tap the screen. Can we get to 80? Smaller audience. TikTok is playing games with the algorithm, but I do appreciate the few of you that are tapping the screen, getting the likes up. RFK is, well, I think that any votes that Trump would get by making RFK his vice president, he would have got them anyway. I don't think, here's the deal. RFK was polling around 20% Trump versus Biden. A lot of folks felt Trump and Biden were too damn old, and they were looking for somebody younger. RFK represented that. And RFK was getting about 20% of the vote. Once the Democrats got rid of Biden and put Kamala Harris in place of Biden, RFK numbers dropped to about 5%. Meaning that the Democrats that were likely to pick RFK jumped ship. So most of the folks, when Trump put RFK on his ticket, you know, RFK is now endorsing Trump, the 5% that RFK was getting were probably going to go to Trump anyway. So I don't think that RFK is going to really result in a net gain for Trump of any significance. Once Biden was out of the race, RFK lost a lot of support. But you also, who else did you said RFK, and who was the other one? I wanted to address the other person. Ben Carson. You want to talk about the whole claim that Kamala Harris should not be president because she hasn't done shit. What's on Ben Carson's resume? What has Ben Carson done? Okay, he was great in the hospital, but under the Trump administration, housing and urban development, what the hell did he do? Ben Carson? No. I don't, other than you, Ben Carson would have been maybe slightly better than trying to appoint Herschel Walker for Senate in Georgia. Everybody knows why you're putting Ben Carson on a ticket. Just like everybody knew why Trump was putting Herschel Walker up for Senate. Everybody already know what the hell you're doing. Nothing to do with qualifications or any damn thing. It's all because he's black. So no, I don't think big. Now, Tim Scott, he's a senator. Somebody mentioned Tim Scott. Tim Scott ain't gonna bring you no black votes. I can tell you that. Ain't nobody black supporting Tim Scott. His whole audience is white, but he is considered far more moderate than Trump. Maybe a few votes here or there from some independents. Maybe. My guess, and I know my beloved MAGA is going to hate this one. I go with Nikki Haley. I think, in fact, I believe Nikki Haley would have made a far better presidential candidate than Trump. You're going to get probably 80% or so of the policies you want out of Trump out of Nikki Haley. And you don't get any of the baggage. Remember the old 1990s beer commercials, taste great, less filling? You're going to get most of the taste from Trump out of Nikki Haley without all the calories, without all the filling. I mean, Trump's gonna be dealing with court cases forever. He's gonna have to make them go away if he becomes president. You gotta say, well, they never gave him a chance from day one when he was president the first time. What do you think's gonna happen the second time? His whole presidency is gonna be chaotic again. Not to say it may not be successful. You certainly believe his first presidency was successful. It could still be successful. But if you believe they didn't give him a chance from day one the first time, don't expect it to be any better the second time. We get Nikki Haley in there, it'll be just like the Bushes or some of the other Republican presidencies of the past. Politics will be boring again. And there's a lot of folks who want to go back to that time. As opposed to make America great again, make politics boring again. Some people don't want to hear crazy shit and insults being on the news every night. Some people have gotten old. A lot of people don't get tired of that. It worked well for Trump in 2016. We're almost 10 years out. You got to teach an old dog new tricks. Trump is having a hard time adjusting to the fact that a large portion of America no longer likes the insults and name calling. It worked for him the first time, so he thinks it's going to keep working. It's not working as well. In the end times, God gives Satan free will to enter the minds of lost souls that refuse to repent. You will see more people acting crazy and stupid, says SU Triangle. I don't know about that. I think that, at least for people that look like me, the time when people were acting crazy and stupid is worse the further back you go. It's actually gotten more sane and civilized. So I don't know if I agree with that. Jim Chrome, is that what I'm reading? Good afternoon, Jim. Welcome to the program. Thank you, Shangosito. Appreciate you recognizing that. Jim, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing real good. Trying to hang out here. I'm in the trenches on this topic. Did you see the Tyreek Hill encounter?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I did. And I was a big Tyreek Hill fan back when he was with the Chiefs. So I like the guy, but I'll tell you right now, my skin is lighter than the snow on its first fall.
Damn, Snow White. So what do you think about his actions?
Yeah. Every time I got pulled over, my hands stuck to the steering wheel like they were glued there because I knew better. And I'm white. But where I grew up, there weren't very many African Americans. I grew up in Portland, Maine, back in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
And guess what? When they don't have a target, unless you're poor, that's where they start. That's where they go.
Yeah.
They knew my neighborhood, and they knew, that. And I got pulled over for drinking out of a 2-liter bottle once.
Shit.
Yeah. Just typical crap back then. If you were poor and they knew where you lived, you were going to get pulled over 9 times out of 10. And if you even gave a little resistance, a verbal resistance, you were getting yanked out of the vehicles. They didn't have cameras on their chests back then.
Yeah.
And who were they going to believe? The police officer or the kid from a really run-down project area?
You kind of sound like Tyreek Hill himself, who stated that I'm lucky to have this platform because if I was a regular Joe Schmo, this would have likely went even worse.
Yeah. I've been pulled over for just driving down the road, and that was it. And they made up an excuse to pull me over.
Wow. So what do you think, though? Do you think that he did anything wrong? Well, you sound like you do. Do you think he did anything wrong at all? Because it's clear that I think we all agree the police went too far with it. But my point that I'm taking a lot of pushback on is I believe that none of this would have happened if he had just been a compliant citizen. Just a little bit of courtesy goes a long way.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% because, like I said, my hands were stuck to a steering wheel like they were super glued there once that window went down. And it was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Because I knew if I did, I was going to receive a whooping that I just really didn't want to get that night.
So you sound like the old Chris Rock. You ever see the Chris Rock video, How Not to Get Your Ass Beat by Cops?
Yeah. I've seen that.
It's just talking shit. I've been in the car, by the way. I've been in the car with people. You get pulled over and you got your boy in the car or something like that, and they want to reach over and talk shit out the windows to the cop, and you damn near got to smack him like, dude, it ain't this serious. You're going to get us all fucked up. Like, just... Yeah. So...
I had a few friends like that. It's like, dude, you are going to get me thrown in the pen. Don't do it.
Yeah. Now, see in the comments, though... You and I are having a regular conversation like a couple old chaps. In the comments, Jay Fire said, stop making excuses for bad cops. Are we making excuses for bad policing?
No. Hell no. It's just smarter to sue them when you are already on your way. Be smart. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Yes, sir. No, sir. And you have just increased your chances of going home by 90%.
Yeah. And that's my whole point is that you cannot have court on the side of the road. Cops are human too. Plenty of cops are going to make mistakes. There are intolerant cops. There are sexist cops. There are racist cops. There are crooked cops. All cops are not good. But if you encounter a bad cop trying to invoke your rights on the side, it ain't going to work with him. It's not going to work with that dude. That's what court is for.
He has made up his mind, and if you try to invoke your rights, good luck with that, because you will soon find out your rights don't mean squat on the side of the road.
Right.
I know for a fact.
Yeah. And a lot of people do. And that's the point I'm trying to make is, what Tyreek Hill did, while it may have been constitutionally legal, I wouldn't advise anybody else to do that, because you may not have the benefit of a camera and obviously his infinite wealth. I mean, somebody else may do the same thing and end up never coming home again.
That's it. And it doesn't matter the color of your skin on that. It all matters on that, whoever the police officer is and what kind of day he's had.
Yeah. I don't think we disagree. Jim, I got to move it on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tim. Have a good one, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on to the program. My rights didn't mean shit as a child. This has been going on since I've been born. Veronica, it's been going on long before you were born. I mean, cops, listen, because folks always say, well, why the hell cops don't, why the hell is it only blacks that seem to have a chip on their shoulder when it comes to police? Well, first of all, it's not only African Americans, but there is a historical context to it. Part of the nature why police even came about was to capture, escaped slaves. That was kind of how the police were developed in this country, starting out with black people. So the relationship between blacks and the cops has essentially been bad since the very beginning. Now in the comments, Craig Halpin says that's a lie. No, that's true. It is true. You could think it's a lie, but it is true that they had law enforcement had the right to capture escaped slaves, and they had badges. They did have little big ass badges or whatever. So now in the comments, I see Craig, you say cops existed long before. America didn't exist long before. When America came to be a nation, you already had slaves. It was already, when America was founded in 1776, slavery was already underway. So what do you mean they had cops? Slavery goes back a long fucking way. I don't know what you're trying to say. But the fact is, the police had the right, at least as far back as the 1700s, to go and capture freed slaves. And then, of course, all of the enforcement of Jim Crow laws was done by the police. If I went into a all-white restaurant, tried to get something to eat, or my car broke down and I went to an all-white gas station and they didn't want me there, guess who they called? So the police have a lengthy history of enforcing the mistreatment of African Americans. So there's no denying that the relationship between blacks and police go way, way the hell back. Way the hell back. So for folks why do blacks always seem to have a chip on their shoulder? Well, I hate to say it this way, but the stories get passed down. Old habits die hard. Most of us, in addition to having had to talk with our parents about police, A lot of folks have also had talks about negative stories. Most black people probably know at least one other person that will tell them a story about how bad the police treated them. It's legion in the black community. There's been a lot of problems with police and black people. Let me just say this. I know there's a hell of a lot of folks who believe that, look, the cops are not just treating blacks this way, they're treating everybody this way. Fair enough. There is a reason, though, why in a society where we all have smartphones, we all have cameras, most police departments have body cameras, there's a reason why most of the video coming forward always features people of color. And that's not something that is just happening by circumstance. There's a reason. Most of the videos where you see cops allegedly, I'll throw that in there, allegedly misbehaving is often against a suspect of color. You think that's just done by accident? No, I mean, you don't think any white people commit crimes? It's just all black people, huh? Okay. Because people say, well, look, it's because the blacks don't comply or blacks are committing crime. You don't think there's any white Karens out there that push back on police? None of them commit any crimes? It's all black people, huh? There's a reason why most of the videos featured are people of color. Now, I've had somebody suggest, well, it's because white people don't make a big stink about it. Really? Bitching about drag queen shows and the wrong books in schools and statues coming down and they'll let the police beat the shit out? No, that ain't true. If the police are mistreating you, doesn't matter what race you are, you're going to speak up on it. So the idea that cops are equally mistreating white people and they're just choosing not to be vocal about it is crazy. The reason is simple. It's not happening to that level. It's just not happening to that level. And I told you earlier in the show, my belief is because the black community, unlike the white community, for example, is being policed by outsiders. Most whites are being policed by other white people. Now, if you live in a major city like Chicago somewhere, yeah, then it's going to be cops of all different ethnicities and things like that. You ever seen a map during an election? All of those red areas where most of rural America is Republican and only the major cities are blue. All of that red area, most of those cops are white. Most of those cops are white. Maybe in Mississippi somewhere where there's a lot of black people, but most of those cops in that red, the people who live in that area are white and the cops are white. Put some black cops in those rural areas and I guarantee you the relationship would be bad. The fact is, the African-American community is often policed by people that are not from the community. They're the quote-unquote other. And the resentment continues. You're not going to, if all the cops in your neighborhood is black, the whole racism issue goes out of the window. Okay? They're stopping you. Maybe it's a bullshit stop, but the whole racism part of it goes out of the window. There's too many people from other communities policing the black community. And that could be a host of reasons, such as, number one, the folks in the black community don't want to be cops. Well, doesn't help your community out very much. Going to the box, S. Fry Daddy. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Then maybe they should strive to have more of their own become police. That is true, Petty, till the end. I agree. But we got that requires changing the narrative. Because black people, if you black and you become a cop, a lot of folks in your own community call you a sellout. You sold out to the man and things like that. That mentality has to change. You can't blame that part on white people. That's within the community. Going back to the box, don't know what happened with my last guest. S. Fry Daddy, it shows I tried to bring him up. I don't know why he didn't come up. So we'll try to move it on. Maybe I'm having some issues. Chris, good afternoon. We need to take a chance on each other and make peace. I agree with that. Chris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. Now, you've been hearing the discussion. What am I getting wrong?
what I've heard is about the Tyreek Hill incident. Is that pretty much the topic today?
Yes, sir. Well, we also talking about the debate today, but yeah, predominantly we've been discussing Tyreek Hill.
Man, I can agree with you that, that he escalated a little bit, and, if he had just been, yes sir, no sir, and, done what he was asked, then maybe none of that happened. But that shouldn't be the point. The point is that those officers, it's their job to de-escalate and not sit there and make things worse no matter what they're dealing with.
I don't disagree, which is why I've been saying from the moment we started, I don't think there were any good parties involved in this.
You don't think there's any what? I'm sorry, you broke up.
I don't think either party was good. I think both of them. There's no heroes, there's no good party in this.
Right, they're both at fault, but at the end of the day, except for whatever traffic violation he did or whatever to cause the stop, if there was one, he didn't do anything that was illegal or anything like that. So yeah, you can blame both sides, but one side is not breaking the law from the moment that they were pulled over, and the other side, it's their job. We're paying them as a public servant to de-escalate and take care of whatever it is that whether it's a stop or a call or whatever, they have to have that training and have that mindset of de-escalation.
Well, if you're doing 20 miles over the limit, which is what they're suggesting, that he was speeding, he was in a reckless driving category, don't they have a right to ask you to step out of the vehicle?
I don't know the law. I don't even want to speak on that because I know the laws may vary in different states or whatever. So, but I mean, as far as I know, they don't even have a legal right to make you roll your window all the way down either, though, do they?
If you're in a car and they pull you over, yeah, I think they have a right to at least make contact with you. But if you're doing 20 over, it puts you in a different category. I think if you got a reckless driving beef, they can have you step out of the car. And if you don't, then they can drag you out.
Tim, 20 over is not that bad, depending on, especially if you're on a freeway or something like that. Like, I can speak on, like, here in Texas, as long as your ticket is for 25 miles an hour over or less, you can do defensive driving or deferred adjudication to make the ticket go away.
That depends on the state, though, Chris. I mean, every state has a different example.
That's why I said I'm speaking for here. I said I was speaking for what I personally know here in Texas, because I've even had a ticket where I got pulled over and they were giving me a ticket for 27 miles an hour over on a freeway, and I was respectful, and I was able to luckily talk the cop into just making it for like 24 miles an hour over so that I could do defensive driving on it.
If you're doing, well, the reason you got him to go down to 24 is because, it was probably a reckless driving charge you were trying to get out of, and it would have ruined your insurance. I mean, in Tyreek Hill's case, if he had to comply, the reckless driving and all that stuff goes away, but the way he was acting, he kind of brought bad behavior on himself.
I mean, I can't, like I said, I can't disagree with that, but that doesn't make it okay for it to end the way it did either.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not defending.
No, hold on. If he was like, trying to hit them or kick them or like do something like that, then yes. But when all he's using is words, sticks and stones.
Well, I get your point, but what I'm saying is if it is a reckless, we have to know the law for Florida, because if that is indeed a reckless driving charge, they have a right to ask you to step out of the vehicle. And if you say no, now they actually have a right to pull you out of the vehicle. So we need to know, first of all, did they have a right to ask him to get out of the vehicle? Because he did refuse to do that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know the laws in Florida, so and I'm not going to pretend to or assume what they are. So I can't argue on that side of it.
Yeah. And I see in the comments, Leslie asks, why do they have a right to ask you to step out of the vehicle? Certain crimes. If, like I said, if you're driving 5 or 6 miles over the limit, no, I don't think they have a right. But if you're doing 20 over, if once he enters reckless driving, I mean, they can arrest you for that. I mean, once you get into the reckless driving category, they can arrest you. Now, is that 20 miles an hour over, or is it 50? Every state, every municipality has a different law. But once you enter the reckless driving category, they can tow your car, they can arrest you, they can it changes what they can do.
Right, and it depends on what the speed limit is too, though, Tim, because like I know
40.
at least to some degree what the speed limit is because like if you're going 40 and a 20, that's a lot different than if you're going 70 and a 50 or 80 and a 60. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if it's true or not, but I have heard from people that live here in the area I do that if you're going double the speed limit, no matter where you are, then they can make it either like a Class A misdemeanor or even a felony.
Well, he clearly wasn't on the highway, so he was in a slower zone. I think he did 60 and a 40.
So, well, he had a game to get to, Tim. But I'll let you get on the next caller, man.
Thank you.
Hey, who did they beat, or who did Miami play Sunday? Can you remind me?
I forgot who they played. They won too. He had a game to get to. Who did they play, folks? Somebody in the comments let me know. Who did Miami play?
It wasn't one of those loser AFC South teams, was it?
I forgot who they played. I mean, the story is taking precedence. Somebody in the comments will say it, though. But Jacksonville. There you go.
All right, Tim. It was good talking to you.
All right. You had a game to get to. Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the program. And that is true. You had a game to get to. But, yeah, you can't that's irrelevant when it comes to a traffic stop. I think he was also suggesting that he didn't want to let the window down because if fans saw him, it could cause issues with. Once again, that's irrelevant too. You don't get to say I don't want. If they're telling you to do, I mean, I don't want my fans to see me. Also, you heard him when he got tackled, and that whole tackling thing was really that right there. To me, pulling him out of the car, although I don't like that happening, that didn't look as bad as tackling a man who's already got handcuffs on. To me, that right there is where if Tyreek Hill is going to get some type of compensation or relief, I think that tackle while he's already handcuffed is probably where it comes from. If they had to simply yanked him out of the car and put him in handcuffs to detain him for a while and let him go, people would have still complained. But that secondary tackle while he's on handcuffs, it really looks bad. And of course, he wasn't complying at that point either because they were telling him to sit down. And he's like, well, I just had surgery on my leg or whatever. Now, the cop is asking him to sit down. He's refusing to do it on the grounds that he just had surgery on his knee. But yet he's on the way to a football game where they tackle people as part of the game. So it's pretty clear that he was not refusing to sit down for the cop because his knee or something. He was doing it out of resistance. He was not going to sit down. He was doing that to just resist. I'm not going to support the cop tackling him, but he clearly wasn't. He clearly was using his knee as a bullshit excuse. I mean, you're going to play football. If your knee is that bad, you're not going to go play a game. I mean, so he was using the knee as an excuse not to comply. I mean, like I said, the whole spiel is Tyreek Hill refusing to comply and bad shit happening to him. Bad shit that he didn't deserve, but he clearly was trying not to comply. Ain't nothing wrong with your knee. You about to go play football. You just don't want to sit down because this guy is asking you to. And you're trying to use your knee as an excuse not to do it. This didn't have to happen. That's all I'm saying. This did not have to happen. And in the comments, I see Me187 says, well, why does he need to sit on the curb? Why does any of this need to happen? Just raise the window down. And if you don't go down this path, you don't need for this shit to happen. But you're right. If he's being detained, this is where the de-escalation of cops also make them look bad. Okay, you got a guy who's being detained because he's not under arrest. You're just detaining him. He doesn't want to sit down like you're telling him to. Okay, if you let him stand, is anybody really hurt? Is anybody in danger if he remains standing? Do you really absolutely need him to sit down? The tackle was unnecessary. I'm not arguing that. The tackle was unnecessary. But the way Tyreek was acting was also unnecessary. The only difference, I guess the argument is, well, one person is a cop, the other person is a citizen. I get it, but Tyreek Hill did not have to act like that. I mean, if you just simply comply, you're not going through any of this stuff. Looking in the comments, just because the police say it don't mean you have to do it. True, but there's consequences to not complying. There's a lot of things the police may tell you to do that you do not have to do. But as we've been talking about throughout the entire show, holding court on the side of the road will never go in your favor. As you said, just because the police tell you to do it, don't mean you have to do it. Yeah, but on the side of the road, it's probably not going to go in your favor. You can take them to court later and prove that you didn't have to do it, but while you're on the side of the road, good luck. Going back to the box. Fuck around and find out. Gen X. Good afternoon. Now, Gen X.
What happened, Tim?
I'm just going to give you the floor. What am I getting wrong?
Man, fuck the police. You should have opened his window, yelled out the window, fuck the police, and then went for his wallet.
and we would be holding a memorial.
You know what? I was actually on Tyreek's side when I first saw the video. I was like, man, that's kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? You pull a guy out of the car. You know he's an NFL star. What's he gonna do? You know what I mean? And then you tackle him onto the ground. But then I watched the whole video. I sent you the link for it. Let's say the construction speed limit was 15 miles an hour. That's generally what they are. You see all the other cops, all the other cars on the other side of the highway going by real slow. Then there's a break, and wham, he flies by. The video shows the cop turn around on the highway, and by the time he catches up to him, he has to pass 8 other cars before he gets behind Tyreek. So he's going a lot quicker than double or triple the speed limit, so they gave him a break.
Yeah, that whole comment about it, you've seen the whole video. That happened with me too. I actually made a long form YouTube video defending Tyreek Hill, even had clips in the middle showing what happened to him. Then I'd come in and give my own opinion on how the cops were wrong in that. But just like you, I never seen the initial way that he acted with the police. A lot of media outlets brought it up to the point where they're asking him to raise the window down and he's fighting. He was non-compliant before that. They actually clipped it to reduce how much non-compliance Tyreek Hill was involved in. I didn't realize all of that. Like, why are you knocking on my window so hard? And I mean, he was actually pushing back on a lot of stuff. I didn't realize how much he was doing it until I saw the whole video.
You know, I think that when the cop first, because there's 2 cops. There's the Hispanic cop and there's a white cop with him with a mustache. The Hispanic cop was the one that made initial contact. And I think he went up with because the other cop told him who it was.
Right.
And he's thinking, all right, whatever. You know, we'll just tell the guy to slow down. But then he opens the window, and the first thing out of his mouth is, why are you knocking on my window? What the fuck you think why I'm knocking on your window? Hey, give me your license to register. Man, why are you knocking on my... Get your ass up out of this fucking car.
Yeah, then the whole part about just go ahead and write the ticket and hunt him. He was basically shooing the cop on, like, okay, all you can do is write a ticket. I mean, he was being pretty disrespectful. I'm not saying the cop has the right to hurt him.
Here's the other side of that coin. Here's the other side of that coin. That cop was so easily triggered, I wouldn't want to see him triggered on a dark street in a fucking beat down car when he's got no one with him.
Yeah, and that was part of the video I did. Yeah, and that was part of the thing I said in the video is that in addition to de-escalation training, I believe police, like truck drivers, like doctors, like nurses, should be forced to have personal liability insurance. Like if you're a truck driver and you got a CDL and you deliver freight, you have to have insurance so that the shippers, their freight can be protected. Same thing as a doctor. If you're performing surgeries and things like that, you have to have malpractice insurance. If you're a truck driver, even though no one is injured, let's say you're just driving down the highway at 100 miles an hour and you get a ticket for that, your premiums are going to go up. They may not even want to insure you because you have shown that you're capable of doing some bad shit. And they may, look, we can't insure you because if you have an accident like this, we don't want to pay the claim. Insurance companies don't like paying claims. To me, what we seen that officer do that you're talking about, even though nobody really got injured, was akin to a truck driver driving down a highway at 100 miles an hour. He shows that you have the propensity to get somebody hurt. I mean, you didn't hurt Tyreek, but like you said, you went from 0 to 100 so damn quick that if he had been more physically resistant or something, you would have probably killed that guy. I mean, if he had to have malpractice insurance as a condition of being a cop, like you got to have insurance as a condition of driving a truck or being a doctor, he would have a hard time finding an insurance company to insure him because you may have to end up paying claims on this guy written all over him.
You know, you bring up a real good point that just went through my head because we go back and forth about the partial immunity or whatever.
Yeah, that's real bad.
So wait, what about, let me run this by you. What about if the police officer was required to be bonded and insured in order to get that partial immunity on the job? So what I'm saying is the insurance company at that point is going to step in and screen them to the T. And if they see any because they don't want to lose their money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
here's the problem.
Bonded or insured by the insurance company, you don't get that immunity.
Well, here's the problem. When it comes to immunity, because Trump is talking about immunity, whatever. I hear your point about the insurance, but Trump needs to explain what that is because cops already have a level of immunity right now. So what additional immunity are you trying to give police? What can they not do right now that you want them to be able to do with no accountability? Now, in addition to him promising to give cops immunity and not explaining it, he's also talking about working with liberal mayors and liberal governors and doing it in those areas. Now, I've had a whole live about the problems with police in the black community is that other folks from other communities are doing it. Now, all of a sudden, they got fucking immunity? I think that would be a disaster. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't see where the cops need immunity.
Yeah, hey, Tim, you know what I'm doing tonight?
What up?
I'm going to play a drinking game for the debate. And every time Kamala cackle, I'm going to take a shot.
Why not? I think you can get more. I think
insult her, I'm going to take a shot.
I think you could get more drunk if you took one every time Trump said fake news. Or the election was stolen.
Well, he's backed up off that. If he does two things, he won't do bad in this debate. Number one, don't attack her personally. Stick to the subject. And number two, shut up and let her talk. That's all he's got to do.
That's like saying all Biden got to do is show up to the debate and not skip over words. I don't think Trump is capable of doing that.
We'll find out in about an hour and a half.
All right, Gen X. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Have a great rest of your day, Tim. Thanks for having me on as always. And yeah, man.
Thank you. All right, moving on. I hope he loses all future contracts promoting the way he acted. No, that ain't gonna happen, Patrick. I don't think. Look, anybody can have a bad day. I don't think what Tyreek Hill did was that bad that he should lose all future contracts. That's way too harsh. No, he didn't do anything that bad. He had to take a swing at the cop or something, cussed him out, tried to hurt him, took off in a high-speed car chase or something. But he didn't lose contracts really for that. It wasn't that bad. He won't just let her talk, says be. No, I don't think Trump is going to just let Kamala Harris talk either. I don't buy that one. We'll see, though. You never know. Maybe somebody got to him. It's just the difference is Trump doesn't have a crowd. And Trump's skills are better off playing to crowds. I mean, you go to a rally, I've been to rallies. He's really good at hyping up a crowd. So without a crowd, by the way, we seen what happened on June 27th when Trump debated Biden. Everybody's saying, well, Trump kicked Biden's ass. No, Trump didn't beat Biden on June 27th. Biden beat Biden. If you take Trump's portion of that debate, write it down on a piece of paper and look at what he said, taking away how bad Biden performed, Trump has not performed great that debate either. He said a whole lot of shit that didn't pass the fact checkers and was wild ass shit. It's just Biden did worse. That's all. Biden beat Biden that debate. It wasn't Trump. Trump didn't have any gotcha moments or sound great. It's just Biden sounded that damn bad. That ain't gonna work with Kamala Harris. He's gonna have to beat Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris ain't gonna get up there and trip like that. I got a stud pregnant and need help. Why do you need help with? You didn't need help. You didn't need help getting her pregnant. You didn't call during the good part. Don't call now. Low key, the deaf said Biden won. Yeah, that would be bad. I never seen somebody that grown. Wait a minute. I never seen somebody that grown act that childish before. Are we talking about Trump? Or are we talking about Tyreek? I'd be curious. Harris will beat herself. Just let her talk. I don't buy that, Robert. You guys, let me say this. I know you guys have been convinced. I'm talking to my beloved MAGA side of the aisle. I know you've been convinced that Kamala Harris is a total fucking idiot because Trump has said it and things like that. This is a lawyer. She was an attorney at the highest levels in California. She's a lot smarter than you guys realize. You don't like her policies. I get it. She leans left. You lean right. You don't have a reason to like her policies. She's not an idiot. I think that Trump may have lowered the bar on her to the point where when she get out, she's not an idiot. I can tell you that. So the idea that she gonna just get out there and get ran over, that's not true. You're the best. The hand. I don't quite get that. Correct. Court of law, police, board, etc. Yeah. Kamala Harris is a very intelligent woman. She just leans left and you lean right for a lot of folks. Get eye drops. That's the problem. Somebody, on YouTube, let me just say this real quick because I get everybody, particularly on YouTube. The program is originating from TikTok. So when I'm talking to folks on TikTok, I'm staring dead at the camera. The folks on YouTube, you're getting, and I don't know why, but when I'm talking to folks on TikTok, my eyes and the way the camera, it looks weird as hell. So I constantly get folks on YouTube talking about what your eyes look like. I can't control it. When I stare at the camera on YouTube, the problem goes away, but when it's coming from the side, it looks that way. I said you're the best. I didn't read your full name. My bad. I guess you're speaking to someone. Nikki Haley smoked her Trump will destroy her. You're saying Nikki Haley smoked Kamala Harris and Trump will destroy her? Nikki Haley? I don't remember Nikki Haley smoking Kamala Harris. Keep in mind when Nikki Haley, what debate were they in? Nikki Haley? You sure you're into? Nah, she debated Tulsi Gabbard. Why would Nikki Haley, who's on the right? That didn't happen, did it? You talking about Tulsi Gabbard? I think you're talking about Tulsi Gabbard. And by the way, Trump is not Tulsi Gabbard. Trump is not as well spoken, as professional as Tulsi Gabbard. Don't expect Tulsi Gabbard to come out of Trump. Difference. Now I understand Tulsi Gabbard did partake in the training of Trump for the debate, but Chris Christie, Rudolph Giuliani, and I think it was Kellyanne Conway trained Trump to debate Biden during that whole "won't you shut up, man," and they all said, look, we didn't tell him to do that shit. So just because you receive good instructions on what to do don't mean you're going to follow him. He's already made that mistake once. So we'll see. The Christians are coming out. The lies and name calling are here. Nana, the Christians are coming out. The lies, and I don't know what that means. She is a criminal lawyer, but on the economics, she has no idea when it comes to the citizens. I didn't say she's dumb. She just specializes in law. All I'm saying, sir. Well, let me just, okay, you're saying that she doesn't have any clue when it comes to economics. Is there any liberal that you believe has a clue? When Obama was running, he was a socialist, going to destroy the country, turn us into socialist Greece at the time. Because Venezuela was still, Hugo Chavez was still alive. It was Greece that had to fill the economy. Every liberal that runs, you're going to suggest that they're going to destroy the economy. That's how politics works. When Hillary Clinton was running, they said she was going to destroy the economy. When Biden got the job, they said he was going to destroy. They were promising that if Biden got elected in 2020, we were going to have a Great Depression. That didn't happen. We didn't come anywhere near the Great Depression. Trump has been saying that all 4 years Biden was in office. Yeah, goods and services went up a bit. Inflation's high. It ain't the fucking depression. And now folks are putting that label on Kamala Harris. So when you say that Kamala Harris doesn't know anything about the economy, my guess is you probably would say that about any liberal that ran. I don't care if it's Andrew Yang, you'd probably, any liberal that runs is going to be a far left radical. That's just what, the right doesn't recognize moderates. Every liberal in existence is a far left radical. I don't care who it is. If you're running for the liberal nomination, Trump is going to call you a far left radical. You don't recognize moderates. So to some degree, some of the insults or complaints against Kamala Harris are general in nature. You would put them up against anybody. Now that is on the level. The market almost doubled under Biden's economic policies. And that's also an issue, is that while the right and even a lot of Americans, including Democrats, while they're saying the economy sucks under Biden, the financial analysts are saying different. Even Charles Payne and Neil Cavuto on Fox are suggesting the economy is actually doing pretty good. So I always say this on the show, perception is reality. Doesn't matter, what's really going on. If you feel like things are bad, they're bad in your, like the police. There are people who have showed all kinds of charts to show white people were getting shot more than blacks, or white people are getting, for the African-American community, the perception is the cops are mistreating them. Ain't nothing you're going to show that's going to convince them otherwise. Same thing with the economy. For a lot of people, they believe the economy sucks under Biden. Doesn't matter what graphics you show them, they're not going to stop believing that. They know their own bank account doesn't reflect what you're telling them. Just like with the police, most African Americans know people who have been wrongfully treated by police. Doesn't matter what you show them. Their perception is the cops is not acting right. Looking in the comments, yacht sales. Yacht sales are doing great. All right. Every time a Democrat comes into office, a Republican, they come into a broken economy and they have to save it. I've heard a lot of people say that. The USA is doing far better than most of the free world recovering from the pandemic. That is true. That is true. Going back to the box, Sterling Morning. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. I'm in construction for 28 years. This is the worst year ever, and I can prove it. Well, for you, there are plenty of people who thought the years were the worst they ever had under Trump. Every president there is, there's some American out there that'll say right now is the worst it's ever been for me. Every president. If Trump wins, there are going to be people saying that. For you, it's the worst right now. I tried to bring up a guest. That didn't work. We'll continue on with, I don't know, what am I doing here? Norma Bauer, I think that says. Give it, the box is problematic again. I don't know what's going on. Harris is about to build 3 million homes. Are these 3 million homes for immigrants that you're talking about? $25,000 $25,000 loan to illegal immigrants? Is that what we're talking about? I don't know. I guess the box is problematic. I do appreciate. We almost got 100,000 likes. A lot of lazy thumbs in here. I was trying to get to 100,000 on TikTok. I appreciate you folks on YouTube that smashed that like button. Republicans have never done anything good for the economy. That's not true, Kevin Kevs. I do believe the Republicans are more beneficial to wealthy people and the Democrats are to poor people. But wealthy people are part of the economy. If you are wealthy or well off, because I hear people all the time on the Democratic side, why the hell would you vote for Trump? Why would you vote Republican? There's no, yeah, if you got money, you don't want some politician passing laws forcing you to pay your employees a higher wage. You don't want to be forced to let them unionize. You don't want to be forced to give people health care that maybe your business can't afford. You should vote Republican. There are legitimate reasons to vote Republican. I just believe that the Republicans are more favorable to big business, the wealthy, and the likes, whereas the left is more favorable to the lower class. That's my opinion. I do believe that the Democrats are skeptical of the rich. Tax the rich. The rich didn't earn. If you hear someone criticizing the rich, it's usually Democrats. The Democrats are very skeptical of the rich. They believe that the rich didn't earn their money. They got it by cheating people and shit. They're not very favorable to the wealthy. The Republicans are just the opposite. They're very favorable to the wealthy. They're skeptical of the poor. If I give you free health care or if I give you food stamps, you're just going to use that as an excuse not to go to work. But when it comes to the wealthy, I don't want to tax them more. They have to work hard to get their money. It's not right to tax them or demand they pay people a certain amount. You might hurt the business. The Democrats are favorable to the poor and critical of the rich, and the Republicans are just the opposite. What about corporate welfare? Yeah, the Democrats are not for that. The Republicans are. The Republicans believe corporate welfare works in conjunction with trickle-down economics. If you look out for the corporations, it'll free up money. They'll expand, create create more jobs, and help out the community. They're favorable to that. Just like the left believes that if you give welfare and assistance to poor people, they'll spend the money, it'll stimulate the economy and help us out. They both had the same mindset, just one favors the lower, one favors the upper. Trickle down, trickle up. Depends on who you go with. Anyhow, folks, the box is apparently out. So we'll go ahead and tap into this debate at the Super Bowl level tonight. I do appreciate you folks riding with me. We may get on later. I think the show ends at 10:30, if I'm correct. 10:30 Central Time is when the debate. It's a 90-minute debate. Starts in an hour, I think it is. 90 minutes. So it's a pretty lengthy debate. We should have a lot of fun with that. As always, follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. 100,000 likes. Thank you. And I'll see you guys later on. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I'm out. They will stay poor because they will never learn to do for themselves, says Jason Fick. That's the excuse to not help the poor. That's what I'm saying. If you do something for the poor, they're going to not work. They're going to try to continue scamming the system. The view of it is helping out the poor is a bad thing because they're never going to do what's right. I mean, what about the notion that if you help somebody out with food stamps or something, they'll use the money to go back to college, get on their feet, and become successful? Why automatically assume the worst? That's what the right does. They automatically assume if you help out the lower end, they're just going to exploit the money. It's your boy Tim. Catch you later.